Go ahead.
Hmm. Oh, hey guys. Welcome back to the Harambe's Heroes podcast. After our little debate earlier today, we decided we're gonna do like a little impromptu uh, podcast. It's been way too long since we've actually sat down and done one. We've all been kind of busy getting ready for the LSO coming up here pretty soon. So I think this is one of the things that's been put on the back burner, but we're all together to do a podcast and stuff. Um, it's just gonna be us today. We procrastinated so long that we couldn't actually get a guest because that's how we get down on Harambe's Heroes. But
Stuck with me.
what have you guys been working on other than your LSO shit? I've got a whole pile of stuff. I've got my Shadow Stalkers here. I've got a whole this thing, all this. Everyone's all curious. What is Gavin playing? It's playing all this stuff. If you can figure out how all this works in an army, if I can get it to focus. Ooh, all this stuff. Look at how ugly I am. uh, all kind of shit.
I think I
So
see some
that's
models
my
in there.
Cities of Sigmar shit. Yeah, there's
Oh,
there's there's stuff. Don't worry about it. There's
damn.
That's
stuff.
what I'm taking. The big man and some friends.
Oh yeah, look at all
Um,
that. That Demon
It
Prince looks really
does.
good.
My boy hooked
Made
it up.
it.
I,
All my hobby space is a goddamn
and Evan doesn't know what he
nightmare.
wants to play.
I'm also
yeah.
working on some stuff for doubles.
Yeah.
I had a plan for doubles, and then all the new rules came out, and we can't do anything we plan to do. So I think I'm gonna bust out old Scar brand. I had used him and got him all touched up and purdy. So
Right?
Yeah.
And I did this. If you look at this little stupid skull pyramid, those are little quarter of an inch skulls individually stacked, and I'll never do that again. Ever, ever. Won't ever do it again. I got more glue on my fingers than I think it's like healthy. I probably should
It's
have went
because
glue
you
most of it.
use super glue like a hillbilly and you won't use plastic glue. Why?
Oh,
Why won't
Does,
you use
does plastic glue work on
Why?
resin?
no, it does not.
Well, not resin specifically, but it works on everything else. Why don't you use it? Why? What you working on, Evan?
I'm kind of like the rest of the crew right now, and I think I'm like all the rest of the people where I have no idea what I'm bringing. I've switched probably like 4 or 5 times. My partner, Hunter,
Super excellent.
for doubles, I've sent him like 16 different lists. I think he's given up on me at this point, so I'll be there
He just
for
leaves
him.
you on red.
Yeah.
It's like this guy, like this guy.
Yeah. I just keep sending
Yep.
him lists at like
Awesome.
midnight, 2 in the morning and stuff, and he's probably just like, run whatever you
Well,
want.
So
I'm sure you guys ran into the same thing, but my double stuff kind of boiled down to some stuff I already had painted. I had so much I needed to do for display board and get this army ready for LSO. For the singles, I was just like, grab some things that I already have painted for doubles and touch them up and clean them up and get them ready to go.
yeah, I mean, it's just gonna be like it's gonna be super crazy because we're going from 2.0 to 3.0, right? And it's like changing on the fly as we get piecemeal FAQs. So, like the GHBs are also going to get FAQ'd probably.
Yeah.
So like more stuff might change. They might FAQ some of the core rules in the battle pack too. Like so, it's
Yeah.
just like no one really knows what they're doing.
Personally,
like, I think I know what I'm doing, but
yeah.
they might FAQ things and make my list illegal. Like
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like every time I think I
So-
have something down, it turns out that they're, oh, you can't do it because of this. And then with the new battle tomes coming out next month, and then we don't even know where Cruel Boys or the new Stormcast, or supposedly there's a new Chaos, or an updated Chaos faction, which we assume is probably Nurgle, right? I think that's what everyone kind of thinks is Maggotkin or getting new book
Mhm.
probably. That or Chaos Dwarves,
Yeah,
right?
or there's rumblings of the Chaos Dwarves. They have a name for them, right?
Oathbreakers,
There's
yeah.
some kind of like, what is it?
Oathbreakers,
Oathbreakers. Yeah,
yeah.
that'll be cool.
Yeah. Oh man, you just take my money. Like I wish I could like prepay for all those models. I'd be all over that shit.
Yeah, hopefully they do some like demon engines and stuff. It'd be super cool.
Kevin thinks it's Beast of Chaos. I
But like,
don't think so.
oh yeah, for sure. They should just make Beast of Chaos a destruction army. Yeah.
Beast of
He
Chaos already
doesn't
got an
belong in
update,
Chaos.
Kevin.
Does everyone agree?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I think they should. Yeah, Beast of Chaos got their update in Kragnos. They got a new model that they can't use. They got a new sub faction, which I hear it is pretty good. So they got something.
Didn't they get a battalion?
Battalion. Well, I think their sub faction lets them reroll charges after they deep strike or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, reroll charges when they come off the board edge. Yeah.
They still suck. I
And
mean,
it's
Kevin,
certain
you don't
ones,
play Beast of
not
Chaos to not
for
suck.
Beast of Chaos. Yeah, it's one of those weird armies. I think you can play it well and do okay, but like if you don't play it really well, it just like goes off a cliff. It's an army. Like you're looking at like one tournament.
Yeah, I think a lot of
If you
people
don't
are
play your army perfect.
looking at it, but I think it was better in 2.0 than it is now.
You think so?
I think so.
Just
think
because
it
of
was
the
better than
lower
a lot of
model
models.
counts? I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like you can probably play their. Are there Minotaurs and stuff elite units? Do they have leaders or whatever?
I don't know.
Because
I'd
if
have to look at it
if
again.
they do, then I would
Elite-
actually say that might be better. But
Elite means you can use command
Yeah.
abilities, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what that word
yeah.
means.
They either have
Yeah.
a leader unit or
And
leader
then
model,
what
I should say.
What is the threshold?
They
What is the
usually
threshold for counts as 5 wounds?
oh
Well,
5
it's
wounds.
weird.
Yeah, 5.
But it's weird though. Vanguard didn't get it, so it's not everything. It's not like a set in stone threshold because not everything got it.
Yeah, well, trolls. That was the one thing
Shows
I
you
noticed
how
with
little
trolls
I
right
know
now
about
is
3.0.
they don't have any of the. They're 4 wounds each, so they're perfectly not 2 wounds, which just really sucks. But I'm not asking. I don't want them to
They
get an
heavy
extra
wound?
wound, but they could just get the. And they don't have leaders
Or
either.
they have a. Don't have a leader.
They don't have the. They're not elite, so they're really lacking in that regard. Which it sounds like Beast of Chaos might be the same, in the same boat.
Yeah.
We got someone asking where
So,
Seraphon's
in
gonna be.
case you were confused already, we're gonna make it even more confusing, because we're gonna do a tier list with no actual games really between any of us. I think Evan's actually played the only games of 3.0, or Brian's played one.
Yeah, Brian played against me.
Game of 3.0.
Yeah.
So Evan's like he's the veteran here, and we're just gonna do a tier list because we know
Guys are
what's going on.
so fucked.
Well, I
Whatever
think that I've
whatever
looked at
bad can
enough
happen.
of what I already knew and what we all knew about the factions already, and adding in the new points. I think we can still put together a pretty solid tier list. And then, after we go to LSO and
It's a good
get Hammerfest done.
prediction tier list,
Yeah,
I think.
somebody's gonna break the game. But what I think at the core of like every good list, I've kind of discussed that is you're gonna need some kind of mobile, durable monster, right? And if you look at this tier list, you can kind of pick and choose what is gonna outperform others just based on that building block. I think because so much of your scoring is tied to that mechanic, like both denying your opponent points with having a monster that's durable enough to actually move and not die, and then killing small things like killing Warlord and killing battle line with monsters and etc. So I think that having like a big, strong, durable, tough Warlord monster, like Archaon for example, is going to give you like an edge in list building that lists that don't have that are going to be at a pretty big deficit to start the game out in.
So much
I'll
is
kind of just
into
go down the
that.
line. I think
like if you look on page 12, which is like page 3 of actual rules in the General's Handbook, they say almost that exact same statement. It's like having the monster keyword is going to be give you a distinct advantage in this game for the scoring, for all the abilities monster heroes can do. Like it's going to be pretty crazy. We already in Houston, we already had quite a monster match meta going on. So, but I mean, I think we're all going to be fine.
And they've got some weird quirks, like the Gur spell lets one of your, I think, any hero monster count as a monster for a turn.
Yeah, any non-monster hero.
Mm-hmm. Non-monster hero. And it's not the caster. It's you can cast it on something wholly within 12, I think.
Yep. Wholly within 12.
Within 12. One of those.
It has to be a hero, though.
To proxy that for a turn, so...
And it's interesting, because...
So I think you'll see people proxy that monster a lot of time for the advance rule, where you advance 3 units within 6 inches of each other. I think a lot of builds will have 2 monsters, and you'll have something to cast and make that third hero a monster also, so you can pick up that extra point when you auto advance. Like little quirks like
and
that.
And they got to be
within
will be 3 inches of each
part
other.
Of like, yeah, this would be part of figuring out like how to play 3.0.
Is my mic terrible?
Going, little things like that.
Yeah, they were just trash talking you in chat.
It's AirPods. Are they not picking up very well?
Give me money. Give me money for a new camera, and I won't get a camera. I'll get more Age of Sigmar models.
Just like take it from 360 to 240. And just there's just a pixel of
Give me
Gavin.
money, and it'll turn into more Age of Sigmar models. Yeah. And I'll just I'll reduce the quality.
I'm just using AirPods because they pair with my phone.
Yeah, I would say
I've got a new iPhone, and they've been, the headphone jack is gone from the new iPhone.
Well,
now
if we really need to change it, I could always go back to our first episode and how that was, where you didn't even see our faces; it was just us talking over a picture.
So first army.
Yeah. Okay, moving on.
What we're gonna do here, so we're not here all night, but I think we're gonna use this first, Legion of Asgore, as Soulblight Gravelords, because Legion of Asgore doesn't exist anymore, right?
Yeah.
That's what we decided here.
Yeah.
Because we're so stupid, we don't know how to make a new picture. That's a technical
well, because we had like 5 minutes to put this shit together, and we're just like, fuck it.
We also are really indecisive, along with being really stupid. It's a good combination, actually.
I like it.
Soulblight, I'm just going to do hot take. I'm going to go in God Beast. Talk about it.
Okay.
Not a hot take to me. I think that's where they belong right now. They're playing Age of Sigmar 3.0 with 2.0 points.
Agreed. Yeah.
I think it's the only time we'll see.
If you look at their roster, you just see solid options from top to bottom, and they have an abundance of what you want, right? Those durable mobile heroes, like durable mobile monster heroes. So, just look at Manfred's War Scroll, and then tell me why it's 380. I want to know. Like, why is what is on Manfred's War Scroll only 380 points? And then also, how are you going to kill Manfred without shooting damage?
Shooting?
Answer both of those questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't have shooting, how do you kill him? If you do have shooting, it's still not easy to kill him.
When does he move? At the beginning of the combat?
I think he'll be a linchpin.
Start a combat.
Start a combat, yeah.
So the only way
he can take charge damage.
Take charge mortals. That's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which he has a.
And then he
can. No pain. Or ward save.
If he charges something with Overwatch, then he would have to eat the Overwatch. But he doesn't have to charge that a lot of the time. It's like a choice that you'll be able to make. So, I think you'll see a lot of Manfred-centric lists because he can safely score a lot of those battle tactics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he can contest objectives very aggressively, and then in your opponent's turn, he can just fly away, right?
He can even.
And he has all those keywords. He can make other characters monsters.
I think you can
safely
even
super good building block.
Put him as your prize sorcery for if you chose that as your grand strategy, Because I think that's a big thing that people are overlooking in most of our games is that they're putting these lists together, and a lot of lists that in 2.0 were really good, they didn't have a great number of specific things. And so, you need your grand strategy. If it's a weak grand strategy, then that really sucks. And so I think that Manfred kind of fits that role where you can put him do the monster one, you can do the prize sorcery one. He's very unlikely going. He's probably not going to die, and you're probably running at least another monster or at least another wizard or both in Soulblight in that same list.
Agreed.
So
they're all. I think every hero in their book besides. I think the White King isn't a wizard. What else is a wizard? I think every other character in their book.
In Radagar,
right? Radagar is
some
a
of
wizard.
I think that's just about it.
They are.
I think the Vampire Lords on Zombie Dragon are really scary. I mean, I know they're kind of up there on price points, but I find that, and I mean, just from my games that I've seen and from what I've heard from other people playing 3.0s,
a lot of those Cursed City.
Yeah, that they're not. But like, I noticed that those monsters and stuff, you either focus all your attention on killing them or you don't. So, and I feel like that's a big thing that we've come across where, like, I played a game against Eric, and I put so much points into just trying to kill his Vampire Lord, and I think I did maybe 10 damage overall. He ended the game at full health still. It's just one of those things where I think that monsters are, like you guys were saying, are really strong, and these guys have a lot of strong monsters, and they have a lot of chaff to make up for it as well. Which you guys haven't even talked about yet.
The biggest thing. The chaff is the biggest thing. Like I looked at some of the lists that they're bringing to the tournaments tomorrow. Like Gaming Den there. He's got Nagash, and then like 90 wounds to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's crazy.
Yep.
But they have almost 1,000 points dedicated to one hero and can still put together that many models on the table afterwards. Like,
yeah, I mean, it was the thing where we did 2 games. The first game, it was with the Prince and a bunch of other stuff, and I had Kragnos, and I did really well against him, but I could not kill his zombie dragon unless Kragnos got into it, and he could just constantly screen himself off, and he wasn't even running zombies. And, if you put all those zombies on the board, and you could tie down the entire army without any concern, and really it's like, oh, I just need shooting to take it out, but most of the shooting's been kind of handicapped so far. So
you're gonna be able to do enough bulk damage with shooting to chew through zombies quickly enough, I think, because they changed the regeneration mechanic to now all the characters regenerate D3, right? And then you also have the gravesites bringing the whole unit back also. Yep. So, like, I mean, you can say, well, look, just shoot it, just kill it, but as far as, like, point for point, like, you still have to do 60 wounds, like, through a film of pain. Like, it's not like it's not that easy. Like, it's not that easy. You don't just kill it. Like,
yeah.
Like, it's easy to say, but, like, there's not a lot of armies that can put out that kind of damage consistently turn to turn.
Yeah.
And then also control board.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you usually can't do all of those in the same time. You're usually, I can kill them, but I'm having to give up my entire turn to kill them. And there's a chance every single turn you bring it back.
What I see is there are armies that can do it on a single turn. Like, they can put that damage out on a single turn through a lot of these one-time use buffs and things like that, but they can't turn after turn after turn be able to chop through those zombies like that. And you really need to be able to compete with that army. You need to be able to consistently do damage with resilient units, and typically your more resilient tanky units aren't your damage dealers. There are a couple, ones out there that kind of, change that, like Vanguard and things like that, but it's tough to get a unit that's durable enough to stay in that fight and chop those things down turn after turn after turn.
Yeah, and I know that, so not the whole unit comes back. Obviously, half the unit, and it's not. I think on a 5+, but I think there's ways to actually lower that chance. But it's just that it's similar to how the Gloomspite gets do it, but it's better overall for the most part. I mean, it's just
Well, the core to it is they're already undercosted, in my opinion, and then you're getting to summon those things back on the board. So you're starting out with more of an army, and then you're summoning like half the points you brought with you back to the board. So
yeah, the attrition is really good.
it will be difficult. Yeah, it'll be difficult to. Like we said, I mean, it's where I think it is. It's top tier right now. Like that.
I think you're gonna
And
see it win a lot of tournaments coming up, where they just
Mhm.
grind.
It depends because I don't know if people are on the list that's going to win tournaments right now. I think a lot of people are on Blood Knights. Blood Knights are awesome, right?
They are.
But I don't know if that is. I think it's a mix.
Well, they have
I don't think the
one
best way to
turn
play is like
bursting,
mono
right?
anything.
Yeah, you just bring a
And
mix
so
of everything.
I think that people are. Yeah, they're going to be playing one type of something, and I don't think that's the best way.
Although,
You hear this little terrorist? She wants to make an appearance.
Uh-oh. Kitty catty pitty patty is about to go down.
I will say.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say the one thing that I think that I've noticed a lot though with and I've talked with our good friend Zach a couple times about it is that the resurrection from because before in 2.0 if you were to summon models or resurrect units, those models and units did not count for their battlefield role. So like you can on the old Places of Arcane Power or Better Part of Valor, you couldn't hold objectives with those units, or they didn't count in those situations. Where now that rule actually is not the case. So if you resurrect, like if I bring back those zombies and those zombies are battle line units, they will count as battle line units. Now they're not your original starting army, so it does hurt some things like the victory points for the grand strategy, but in the grand scheme of things, those things still count, and so summoning and resurrecting armies are really gonna matter. So, we got our guest speaker with us.
Oh, yeah, dude. You see this? I care more about this cat than I care about any of you. I want y'all to know that. I would kill any of you for this cat. Easily.
All right. I don't know where to go with that.
Go away. Go away.
No, Zach brought it a good. Zach was talking about they're a gatekeeper army. I think. I don't know. I mean, I think they're going to gatekeep about 85% of people playing the game right now.
They're going to be a good check. I think those.
When you say gatekeeper, I think of 2.0 Gargants. They were a DPS check. Did you have the damage to kill them? If you did, okay, you killed them and you won the game. I still don't think that's quite what Soul Blight is, and that's what I think of when I think of a gatekeeper army.
Yeah.
Like,
I think there's.
I don't think.
Tzeentch with better
so
monsters.
Much there.
I think a gatekeeper army is something that's. I don't think it's going to be popular like that. I think the gatekeeper army in this edition is going to be Mega Gargants. I think that's your gatekeeper army because it's like all consistently that one play style like you're saying, and it's going to be popular. And I think that's what the gatekeeper army is. It's like whatever the popular meta pick is that you have to be teched to deal with. And I don't think people are going to be teched to deal with Soul Blight. And like I don't think you're going to see people show up with it en masse, but you're going to see like one or two people that know how to play the game really well, know how to play that army really well, and they're going to show up with that army and be like at the top tables.
Yeah.
At minimum 4-1 with a good chance to go 5-0. That's what I think Soul Blight's going to be. And then you'll see like the more unoptimized stuff, maybe someone not playing it as informed as like those players usually are, like, and you could easily go like 2-3, 3-2 with it, and then I guess it's a gatekeeper army in that point. But a good player with this army is going to be a problem.
Well, let's move on. We've been kind of talking about these guys for a while, so.
Well, we were talking about the next gatekeeper. Why don't we move on to Gargants? Where do y'all think those are going to be?
Gargants.
I think there's going to be a big stack of things at powerful.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think they belong at the top of it. That's where I see Mega Gargants, right? Like, they're monsters. In a way, they're supposed to get good and detrimental, I think, but they have that big mobile tough monster that I think you need to play 3.0. And then they have a really unique play style where they can play objectives without killing you very fast. That's going to be something that your army is going to have to be prepared to deal with. And then everything that they're good at are things that win, right? It just wins games based on the tools it has, because it has the ability to move models when it needs to. It has the ability to be tough when it needs to against most things. And a lot of like the specific like army bonuses, like kicking objectives and counting for more models and removing models from play, and etc., right? And mortal wounds kind of along that path are all things that just plays well at top tables. So I think that's what is going to make it hover there.
And it plays well.
Good.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was going to say, I think it plays well into some of the ones that I'm personally going to put in that God Beast tier. I just think this plays well into it. It does well into Horde, Soulblight stuff. It does well into, not to get ahead of ourselves, but I think it does well into Lumineth and things like that I'm going to place above it.
I mean, they always have. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think things below it are going to have play into it, which is why I think it's going to stay where it's at.
So I think that there's we always I always you can only build so many lists with Suns. I mean, they only got 4 different types of units now, and
5 War Scrolls.
Yeah, exactly. And so what you're really doing now is that, or I think the strong list that I think that you put together is you put everything into a Gatebreaker. You're either running Gatebreakers and then some babies, like the little tiny regular Gargants, or you're running Kraken Eater, doing the spell casting on the Gatebreaker and making him just a wrecking ball going through with a 5-up Feel No Pain on top of it. So now he's just going through there. You can even, I've seen a list where you can bring Emerald Life Swarm on top of that, and then you just got this like invincible Mega Gargant, and you're just taking objectives. And that's kind of the cool thing of where they're was it Mightier is Rightier? No matter what the objective is, no matter what the requirement is, they just take it. And so that, I think that's going to throw any, like 75% of the players are not going to know how to really do that. But once you understand, like, hey, this is almost certainly what this list is going to be, I don't think it works in its favor that you can run 4 megas now. That's what most people are going to do. They're going to run 4 megas. You're not going to see regular Gargants, so now you can work around it.
Yeah, I think that Stomper Tribe, just one Stomper with 9 little ones, is going to also be viable.
That's
I don't
true.
know if anyone's on that yet, but I think that's one of the best builds in the book. Just because it has a lot of the anti-horde built into it, and then it's got a lot of remove from play, a lot of mortal wounds, and then the things that it would struggle to play, it just ignores. Like, it just ignores objective scoring for a lot of that stuff where it'd be limited by leader normally. Like, they can get around that with playing objectives the way they play them in their book.
I mean, you have it where, I think if you just look at it from a list building perspective, you have 4 megas. You put the Beast Masters grand strategy. They have to kill your entire army to get to prevent you from getting 3 victory points. That's already in your advantage. Most armies aren't going to have that kind of advantage. Then the second thing too is you every objective or battle tactic that has the monster thing, you will get an extra point anytime you complete it. So the amount of points that you're going to be able to rack up is going to be like easy. I mean, it's going to be really difficult for your opponent to just keep up with you on points. And I think that's, because it used to be where the Gargants couldn't be in all places at once. So they couldn't hold in all their objectives, and they couldn't take all their opponent's objectives. Where now, I would say 80% of the battle plans, you just need one more objective than your opponent. And you'll rack up 2 more points than them every turn. And then you complete your battle plan, which
they will bleed that monsters. They will bleed that monster secondary though, where if every battle round they can bleed an extra point from just losing a monster in their army.
True.
So that is like a little bit of counterplay that you're gonna see.
Yeah. That is true.
But Army's super strong.
Nice thing though, they can
It's
use
real simple to play too.
They can
I
use
think that'll help
the
it too, like especially early on, right?
yeah, and they can use a command ability from the Gur realm of Gur, and they can make it so they don't bracket for their fighting, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, helps a lot.
All right, what do we got next right there?
Well, we went out of. Is there something else you just got a hankering for? We
Yeah.
went out of turn there.
No, I was just gonna move on to the next thing. I just thought we had a good segue into Gargants and
This one says
Yeah, for sure.
Legion of Chaos Ascendant. I think it's Bellicor.
Legion of Chaos Ascendant.
We can just do Bellicor.
Trash.
That still exists, right?
I think it's
Trash.
probably
Trash.
trashed here. Yeah.
What are
Trash.
you talking about?
I'm just kidding. There's some play there, but I don't think that's the way.
This is the
Bellicor.
demon one, right? This is the all demon one.
Yeah, this is his own Legion.
You can't run the Vermin Lord anymore, from what I've read. So, and you can't run Kadai Fireborn, so you're just stuck with the regular Corn Zinch.
What you're gonna see in this, I think, is gonna
Terrible.
be Bellicor, the big chicken, and a bunch of pinks. That's what you're gonna see.
Oh, it's just a somewhat different Zinch list where you're just
yeah,
running
it's just
pinks.
Kairos,
I
Bellicor.
don't think you're gonna see anyone play this
Nope.
at all. But I don't want this to be a representation of Bellicor either. Like
No, it
the,
ain't.
the Legion might be bad,
Bellicor.
but
Well,
Bellicor is
yeah,
good in
but
this-
as far
in,
as
in 3.0.
The book,
Like,
if the best thing is Bellicor
Well, it's not
in
really
a different
book.
list,
His book kind of
yeah, for sure, but I think you just need to delineate Bellicor
Mhm.
from his Legion. Right? I don't think that Bellicor is not good because his Legion might not be good.
No,
Or as good as the other ways that you can play Bellicor.
I can put him in like bottom tier underdog, just because
No, put him
Bellicor is
into
good enough.
spoilers. Put him into spoilers, and you can move him right up there to powerful. Not necessarily at the top, but I think
He'll stay in his faction will stay in trash where it belongs. Then that's where it will stay for all time.
Just because Bellicor's there, you can't put him there. I don't think.
Yeah, but Bellicor
Legion of the
can't
First
do it by
Prince is
himself. Even if you ran, Bellicor, Kairos, and a bunch of pinks, I don't see how that changes
I think
anything.
you can just play a bunch of Plague Bearers.
Or
with
Plague
two
Bearers.
Yeah, you could do that
And,
too
like,
with the
Be
Scrivener,
really hard to work. Yeah, and then Deacon's
Scrivener,
lots
and the Sloppy
summoning.
Bob.
really strong.
There is. I'm
Somebody's
so
really-
sorry. I gave my own feelings on it. I think it got screwed over when it went
you just
from.
wanted to be better so you could play it.
Well,
it
when it
wasn't
went
what you
from Wrath
wanted
of
to
the
play.
Ever-Chosen to Chaos Ascended, to his own
Mhm.
book, like it took a downgrade. There's a book named after him, and his faction took a fucking hit. Like it's
Oh,
just
I
trash.
mean, that's what happened with a lot of them too. I mean, you guys were both doc players, and
It didn't happen with Broken Realms Techless. It didn't happen with.
well, of course.
I'm still gonna play Doc.
Well,
Not
okay.
As a Doc player, I'll
Real,
still play Doc.
how do
I
you
play everything.
where do you see this list? If someone brought a Legion of Chaos Ascendant to a tournament, how would they do? Like generally without skilled.
I think if you go what he said, if you go the Plague Bearers and the Sloppy Bile Piper and the Scrivener and things like that, because there's ways to get those demons to be more punchy. They're
Mhm.
able to punch up in that particular build. Where if you just run where I think everyone's going to land, which is Kairos and a bunch of pinks, I think those demons don't punch up.
Well, so where I'm at with this is that at ACO when we played, there was a guy who went 4-1 with Legion of the First Prince, and I think that Legion of the First Prince fits better into 3.0 than it did 2.0. So I think that if you get that kind of a player on Legion of the First Prince in 3.0, like no one knows what it does, and it's got enough tools to compete at top tables, I think that it's like it can be for a 4-1 army.
I think
Easily. But it's hard to judge that. You can't
Yeah.
it's hard to judge an army based on that.
But
Like,
didn't he
right.
run the Vermin Lord Corruptor?
That's the problem.
Those can't. I don't think Skaven
Would-
can be run
We
anymore.
ran the Vermin Lord
Yeah.
and all that too.
I'll leave in underdog. If the
I thought all or no, I guess not.
they changed it in his update. That's why they.
Is it not all demons?
No.
What did they change about it?
It just has the key. It has to have the
What did they-
keyword of Blades of Corn, Disciples of Zinch, whatever Nurgle, and then Hedon Knights of Slaanesh. You can't have the anything because it used to be demons.
Specifically for, it's not demons
Yeah.
anymore.
It used to
So
be
now
Chaos
what is it?
Demons, and now it has to have those keywords of those 4
Yes.
categories.
The 4 books.
Yeah,
Maggot
Zach
Kid,
is saying that
Blades
the guy had a Vermin Lord and Kadai, which I think if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
that was what everyone was running in those lists for the most part.
Right.
Yeah, and you can't bring either.
But I mean, I don't know. I think that you have a strong, fast, durable monster that's pointed very.
He's pointed well.
It's pointed aggressively with Bellicor,
Mhm.
and that is a natural counter to other things like that. Like he can shut down a big, strong character that is similar to him for a turn. Like he can.
Possibly
I
2 turns.
think that
Yeah.
puts it as a good army like by itself. Like it doesn't matter what else you put next to it. Like a good player will do enough with that to go 3 and 2. That's what I think. But it's hard to judge what that army is going to be, and I don't think that anyone's going to play Legion of the First Prince. So I think it's kind of a moot point, right?
I'll just leave it an
Probably what it
underdog.
is.
We can always change it when we come back later. So, all right, next up we got Beast of Chaos.
Beast of Chaos.
Well,
Here's the problem I have with trying to rank Beast of Chaos, right? Because I don't know how much space is in between each book in 3.0 relative to 2.0. Whereas, like, you could be really outpaced in 2.0. I think the scoring for 3.0 is going to keep a lot of these books closer together than 2.0 did.
Yeah.
Like, there are certain things you had to have to be competitive in 2.0, and you don't have to. It's not as much of a necessity anymore because of how the scoring is slowed down. So
Yeah, there's no because I agree, Gavin. I've noticed the one big thing is that like before you could steamroll your opponent quite easily, as I'm sure you can probably talk about with your KO list. But in most cases, where now it's actually you can suffer like half of your army getting knocked out turn 1, but you can still keep up on points and actually end up winning just on that. And I've seen it happen before where you're down on points.
Play your battle tactics well.
Yep.
That's going to be a
Just
big
do better than your opponent.
separator.
Yep.
Big separator. Like, if you are thinking about your battle tactics during game and like what battle tactics you're going to score 2 or 3 rounds from now, and like how you're going to prevent your opponent from getting the ones he has left, like you're behind the 8 ball. I think not playing a competitive Age of Sigmar game. Like, realistically, maybe at LSO there won't be a lot of thought about that stuff. I think that'll evolve as the edition kind of plays out, and everyone will play 3.0 like they played 2.0 to start out with. But I think that'll be a big separator: is who adapts to the rule set faster. That's what's gonna dictate who wins more.
But
we kind of got away from Beast of Chaos, so
trash tier. Moving on.
they don't have a big mobile monster, right? A big mobile durable monster.
Yeah, they
Not
got
really. They have
Cygors,
cheap ones.
Jabber Scythe, I guess.
You're like trying to do Gorgons. Like that's where you're at. I would think they're probably underdog. I don't think they're trash. I think there's plenty of play because they have some summoning and they have outflank, and they have the ability to play objectives really well, and they have cheap units. So I think that trash is a reach.
Yeah, a lot of
but
swamp.
definitely like underdog. There's too many break points in a lot of their buff chains. Like their shit just fails, and there's not a good way to make sure it doesn't fail a lot of the time. So probably underdog. I think that's where I'd put them.
All right. Yeah, and I mean I think that Bellicor, or I'm sorry, the Kragnos subfaction, it does look pretty decent. I mean I don't play Beast of Chaos, and I've only played against it a couple times, but being able to come out of the Deep Strike and re-rolling charges and stuff, I mean, I don't know how well they do, but I'm sure that if you had some better units that could do that, or just swarms of things that can do that.
Yeah, you're re-rolling charges off of Deep Strikes with units that hit like a fucking pillow. Like
but that's not the job,
like
right?
Re-rolling.
They're just meant to take the objectives.
Like I'm going to tell you from like I've played armies that don't move units, and if you can't move a unit off of an objective, then it doesn't matter if you re-roll the charge to get there. if you don't outnumber the bodies that are there.
Yeah.
Like you have to have
Well,
some
'cause you
ability to
can-
knock a unit off of an objective,
I think you
or
can.
to move a big monster out of your face in a turn.
Yeah.
Like
Zach brought it up though. The cockflock. Somebody shows up with all of those cockatrices. What do you do? What if someone shows up with 15 cockatrices? What are you gonna do?
laugh with them and buy that.
You better
dude a
not
beer.
laugh. You better not.
No,
laugh.
I'm not laughing at them. I want to buy the guy a beer for doing it.
That's a good list.
Oof.
That's like that's a good list. That's a tough list for a lot of armies to deal with. But I don't think anyone's gonna buy 13 cockatrices. Maybe we'll see.
It'd be funny.
Somebody did one time, didn't they? That
Yeah,
we
I
know.
did. I did.
Yeah.
And I returned them all before I built them. Because I do that a lot.
They're okay. I mean, I think yeah.
Well, they're monsters. So like they have
And
to
they
keep
move
the
like-
monster keyword.
How
They
many
all
can
count as
you?
5 models.
How many can you
They're
run?
uncapped.
Oh.
You can as many as will fit in your list. So and they're like 95 points. So if someone shows up with like 15 of them shits, like, like I think it could be a good list. Like I don't think anyone's gonna play that because
It does sound fun though.
cockatrices, but it would be funny. That's like right up your alley. You should go buy cockatrices.
Yeah, I bet they're ugly looking and expensive.
Oh yeah, super like hunk of dog shit, like resin, hunk of dog shit resin from Games Workshop. It's like got the
They
neck.
make the
Like,
miniature
I've
into like
sworn off all resin
up.
from game.
Look it up. Look it up.
I've seen one of the models.
It's awful. Like it's one of the worst models they sell. But
Yes.
yeah. So cockatrice, cockflock, powerful. Rest of book under.
Oh, I thought you called it the cock block. I was like,
No, cockflock. Well, it is a cock block too, but cockflock.
Funny. All right.
Okay, so Blades of Corn.
Blades of Corn. Go ahead.
Take it away, Brian. No, that's your shit.
Well, what I've struggled with is like Bloodthirsters hung at the same, relatively close to the same points they were. So their problem always was they didn't get the damage output for the points value, and now they've kind of stayed low. Not low, but for a monster with 14 wounds and decent movement, decent attack stats, they've stayed low enough. But the problem is everything else went up around them, and I'm really struggling to build a competitive list with everything I want in there, plus a Bloodthirster or two for the monster points. I mean, I guess you could focus on like
The meta
stacking
shift
up
will help them,
Bloodthirst.
though, right? Like less shooting will help out Bloodthirsters. It's a lot of what
Yeah,
was
yeah.
killing them
But
before.
you
right?
remember when we were messing around with list building, and we ended up like always like 5 to 25 points over
Mhm.
what we thought was a strong competitive list. Like,
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, if you just want to give up the ability to have a monster, have a strong, have a monster in there for that scoring, if you want to give that up, you can still build a mortal list that will give a lot of players fits. Like,
Yeah.
a 30 Blood Warriors in Gore-Tide is still going to be a son of a bitch to try to get out of your face, because it's going to be a one drop. It's going to get in your face turn one, and you ain't going to move it. Not with rally and all of the +1s to save that they can get. They're going to get one from a prayer probably. They're going to get another one right up from just giving it to themselves. And they're going to sit there and reroll. I mean, they're going to sit there and roll saves all day and kill you.
Yeah.
So-
I think they're pretty
Zach says, "Rip Corn's prayers."
And the prayers, the way that they've kind of
good.
messed
Well,
with
the
prayers.
slaughter priest specifically, right? Like that's what
Yeah.
really what got hammered was.
And it does kind of fucking suck. Like, it does. Like, what happened with the prayers really hit Corn hard, but there's still play in other places. You just kind of, no list that I've built so far has had a slaughter priest. So that's how hard it hit that list. Like, every army I had before had 3 slaughter priests in it. Now I have none. And I just don't think having the slaughter priest in there anymore at 100 points or whatever he is, 115, I just don't think you
Yeah.
bring them anymore.
And the
Like,
War Shrine.
there's better force multipliers, and the War Shrine there too. Yeah, the War Shrine, I think you still bring them in competitive corn builds because you don't bring them for the corn blades of corn models. You bring them for the coalition models that you're going to have in there. You're going to bring it for your knights and your Carcadrak Lord. Like, I think where you start building a blades of corn army is 30 blood warriors, 10 knights, a Carcadrak Lord, and a War Shrine, and then you fill it out from there. And which is where we kind of.
Well, they need to almost like revamp that book a little bit now if they're gonna hit prayers like that, because they made prayers such a big part of their identity. And so it's fine if you want to kind of make prayers not as strong in 3.0. That's fine, but like books that relied heavily on those, like them, Fire Slayers is a good example of a book that kind of took a beating from 2.0 to 3.0, I think. And then rightfully so in a lot of ways, but a lot of it was tied to their prayers changing, and then also the way that their priests interact with prayers. And I think if you're going to do that, you need to rebalance some of that power back into the book if you don't want it to be in their prayers. And I get that the argument is that they're not interactive, right? And that's why they looked at prayers that much in 3.0, is that the big knock on prayers is that I don't get to interact with them. It's not a fun game mechanic. So they did, and they changed it a lot, right? They nerfed priests in general across the board, right? Because they changed a lot of priests to one prayer instead of everything they know. And then just a lot of the prayers changed also that made them worse. So that's fine, but that power needs to go back into the book. It just doesn't need to just go away, I think.
So where would you guys put them?
They're good, I guess. I think you could still go 3 and 2 with them.
Yeah,
it just takes a good pilot.
They're a good benchmark for good. Like, it's a good benchmark to have for good. It's like solid, but none of their tools stand out, right?
Yeah, outside of the blood type table, I think it's still as strong as ever. I think it might have gotten a little stronger with being able to summon a monster. You don't have to bring one in your list. You can force your way up to blood type points early enough to bring in a monster.
Attrition is super important in 3.0. I mean, it was important in 2.0 too, but I feel like it's like hugely important because most of the games in 3.0 they're going to be at least 3 turns. I haven't had one yet where it's over in 2 turns, really.
Well, I think with all the MSU that we're going to see running around, I think Blood Tithe is going to get a bump.
Mm-hmm. You're just going to see it happen more often.
You just never got enough of it because every army you ran into had 40 of something that was Battle Shock immune, and you never could just. Khorne didn't have the punch to get that crap off the board, so you weren't able to generate that resource the way that the other gods are able to pretty much generate their resource at will. Look at Nurgle. I mean, you summon a tree and you're in your own territory, you're in not or whatever. You know, they snowball points. Zinch can snowball points really quickly. Slanesh can snowball points really quickly. I think Khorne needs something in the way of blood tithe generation. It can't just be tied to slaying a unit because there's so much that still right now, even at MSU, is not always going to be super easy to just blow units off the board. Because Khorne doesn't do that. Khorne slowly grinds you out.
You're running MSU a lot too in many cases. Or you're running big blocks that can't kill multiple MSU per turn. So
there's a lot of junk on that blood tithe table too. Like there's a couple of good effects that get used more. The command ability, the command point one's not as strong as it used to be. Like that used to be like a solid one to do every turn was you get an extra command point. Well, that doesn't matter as much anymore.
No.
And then there's just a lot of that stuff is just junk. Like if you look, like I think there's an exploding hits across your army or something. Like who gives a fuck? Like,
no, there's like it's so much blood tithe. There's
are you ever gonna use that shit? Like
no, the only thing you're gonna use
you can get exploding hits. Like oh wow.
Wow.
No, at 6, it's different. It's not quite exploding hits. What it is everything in your army gets to pile in and fight before it dies, and so that's a double pile in and fight for the Blood Warriors. But you're never going to get
exploding 6s one on there.
There may be somewhere. It's been so long since I bothered to pay attention to it.
All right. How about Nurgle, Megakin? Trash tier, right? I haven't seen anyone play them.
Powerful.
James.
So we
Okay.
want to talk about?
Powerful.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
Above
Good summoning.
suns or below suns?
Strong, durable monsters. Good summoning. Very fast. Hard to get off the board. It's kind of like the book in general, right? And then you can also get a lot of damage by playing Blades of Putrefaction, how it was meant to be played. That when they made this book back in 2018, they meant for you to use the Slaves of Darkness book from 2020. They meant for you to use those models with a full hit reroll and innate +1 to hits on their war scrolls. That was meant to play with Blades of Putrefaction. So, yeah, go ahead and play Marauders in this faction with demonic power. Or pretty much anything, right?
Who would do
You put
that?
the demonic power
Right.
on it, and then you get the +1's even more available than it used to be, right? So you play this army as intended, yeah, and then you'll have plenty of damage in this game. So,
A 20 block of Marauders doing 34 mortal wounds.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that they're gonna get addressed soon. Probably. I think that
yeah, I wouldn't expect to see this book
next couple
be around
months,
by the end of
probably.
the year.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
is really strong. And then something that helped them out a lot is that the new command trait that lets you reroll one of your casting rolls. It really helps them out because they've got a lot of spells that they need to go off to be consistently good. And that's a lot of what they struggled with in 2.0 is that they weren't consistent. So their buffs were inconsistent, but if they all went off, very strong. But now you can re-roll one of those. There's a bunch of spells that are important. Blade Purification is one of them. Moving the Wheel's another one. And then you have the Glockin, the one that adds wounds to your models is also really good. Being able to make sure that goes off helps a lot. And then a lot of their buffs are aura buffs that aren't all in the same phase, so they can still stack buffs right now. And I don't think that was intended for 3.0 either. And that'll get addressed in the new book.
It sounds like
now,
they
they play around a lot of
Yeah.
what 3.0 is supposed to be.
It sounds like they pretty much didn't touch the faction because they know they're probably gonna update it soon.
Yeah.
No point in trying to
Agreed.
address it if they're gonna replace most of it.
Yeah, I think they just band-aided the faction. Like, here, use this until... Even their coalition rolls, they can take, like, Clan Pestilence and then, like, all of the other books. Like, they've got this crazy list-building mechanic now, too. I think they literally are just trying to limp that book into the next one, which is coming here pretty soon. But as is, powerful, I think.
Okay. How about Skaven? Skaven Ted.
The Skaven's a weird one.
They keep
Something that I've, like...
punched.
I think that Mulder, and then I think that 9 Storm Fiends is going to be what you see for, like, competitive Skaven. I don't know if anyone's going to show up with that right away.
With the mutations, right? If running that new sub-faction.
Yeah, because I think both of those fit really well. Rat Ogres, the Hell Pits, and Storm Fiends all fit into this new edition really well. The Vermin Lord that has the Savory roll innately, did that change? Does it still have that? You know?
Oh, I don't know, but I would
warp-
assume that it doesn't because almost
The Warp
everything.
Seer, right? If that stayed the same, that character's really good now.
Okay.
And they missed some of it. Like, I think they meant to hit everything, but in typical Games Workshop fashion,
I'll look it up
they
while you guys are talking.
missed
They hit
a
like
ton of
95% of it.
right. And then the
Probably forgot
The Sky-
Skaven existed, to be honest with you.
yeah and the Skyr spell that lets you reroll hits and wounds on a unit makes. I think there's some people who think the Storm Fiends aren't good. I don't know why they think that.
Yeah,
You can make
9
them
of them
battle
would be a
line.
nightmare.
You could put 9 of them with a full hit and wound reroll in both phases, and they get an Overwatch. Like I don't know what people are seeing when they think that Storm Fiends are no good.
Yeah, it's add 1 to save.
Oh, so they did change that. So that character's not as tanky anymore. So
Yeah.
okay.
Rip.
But Storm Fiends are going to be a menace, like in the hands of someone who knows how to play the game. Like it's like half your points for 9 of them, but that played well is going to be an absolute menace.
Yeah.
Because the bulk damage that you can get from 9 Storm Fiends in both the combat and the shooting phase, and they have an Overwatch is going to it's just going to create matchup problems that a lot of armies aren't going to be able to deal with, I think. and then you can put that unit through a Soul Screen bridge and get access to their damage a turn
Right away.
faster than you would think, and they also come through the Nahals pretty well also.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you'll see that, but I think that that'll be a competitive build.
Would you say that's
I
like
don't know if you'll
underdog?
see a lot of the clan rats. No, I don't think it's an underdog book. I think it's at least
No,
good.
not at all.
Uh,
I think it's good. Yeah, I
at
think
least,
it's above Blades of Corn good in my. You can,
yeah. I think it's just going to require people to adapt from the old playstyle. I don't think the old playstyle plays as well in 3.0. I think you're going to have to see a lot of these books. A lot of these books are going to underperform at first because people are just going to take what they're playing in 2.0 and play it in 3.0, I think, and be like, well, this isn't any good. But a lot of this stuff fits better into 3.0 than people think. And I think Skaven are probably going to sit there. They're going to sit in that space where they fit better into 3.0 than people think because you just have to adapt your list building. So I think good is it's a solid tier for them. They don't
Okay.
have super solid monster options. They have good ones, but not. They don't have great ones, right? They just have solid, and that's kind of the book in general. They just are solid from top to down. They don't have anything that stands out.
Well, what about Slanesh? What do you think about
Yeah, there's your trash tier.
that?
Get it
I
started.
I don't know. I feel like I could beat basic chaos on average.
Maybe.
I mean,
if it was you playing Beast of Chaos against yourself, would you be able to beat that player
I think so.
with that
So
army?
the problem with Slanesh is, going back to kind of Korn Slanesh, which lore wise very thematic, but with the way it was before, Horde armies was good for Slanesh because you just needed to do wounds or kill off models in a unit. Where now, because everyone's running MSU, you're not really getting those. You can have it where you're getting on average 2 keepers per game, or you're getting no keepers per game. Just because you're everything's dying. But the problem is, even that, like, even if you get a good game where you summon 2 keepers, it doesn't change anything. I mean, at least with Zinch, I can argue that, like, oh yeah, I can reliably get 3 Lords of Change, and yeah, it's kind of hilarious, but at the same time, you're able to get what you need to off. You're able to get you're able to predict what you're gonna get. With Slanesh, I feel like it's so bad. Everything is really bad points wise. Everything is just awful.
That's the biggest. Like, they were already overcosted,
Mm-hmm.
and then they increased the whole. Like, just if you take their Blitzbar archers and compare them to like that, like whatever that unit is, you compare them to like Lumineth archers, for example.
Sentinels. Yeah, let's see. Yeah,
You're
Sentinels.
not running.
Sentinels at 150, and Blitzbar is at 180. How does that happen?
That you're just not running half of what Slanesh can do. You're running a specific list, and really the big thing, like Coalition, really hurts Slanesh probably more than any other of the Chaos factions, because their cheapest battle line now is 10 Demonettes for 140 points. That is ludicrously bad. And everyone used to say, oh, well, it's because their summoning mechanic, and summoning has been buffed essentially, but it doesn't. Me summoning a keeper doesn't change the way the game is going. It's usually too late.
For 10 Demonettes.
That's the cheapest battle line. Is 10 Demonettes for 140, and it's garbage.
Gives me heartburn.
Yeah, when they brought down Plague Bearers, and Pinks went down, everything went down in their sister Chaos factions, and yet for whatever reason, like I swear, someone hates Slanesh. Like and so yeah, I would say the average player probably can't get through two turns. Like if anyone is going to get 1 or 2 turned, it's going to be Slanesh. So I would probably put them in trash tier or underdog at the bottom, because they are just really bad right now.
Trash dog. Let's put them there. I know it hurts. Be realistic.
It's okay.
Let's put them there. Yeah.
I do it to myself, so I allow it.
You bought that shit knowing it was trash. I have no sympathy.
It's you two who enabled me. I mean, I
was
won
gonna
that
buy
stupid
trash
bastard
too,
at
and I
the
chose not to.
GT.
Slay the darkness, huh?
Yeah, Ryan was joking that the Sigvald
where does
probably
Slaves
gets
go?
killed by a bunch of
Is
gores.
Slaves God Beast or is Slaves powerful?
I don't. I would say powerful. Archaon is like top
Maybe.
notch.
I don't know. It's pretty fucking good right now.
I
Slaves
don't
is-
like putting things in
Okay, they were
tier
God
higher
Beast
just because of one model.
they were prior to Oracular Visions being smashed. They were probably
Yeah.
God Beast.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I feel like they
That
struggle
is a good point.
with the
I
monster.
think that might knock them into powerful. Why do you think they struggle with monster?
Well, I mean, so out of all the lists I've seen, you run one, which he's the best one. And don't
You
get me
can't kill
wrong,
him.
but yeah, but you can't really kill Nagash either. And I don't think
Yeah,
that.
he can.
Well,
He's
you
like,
can.
He's like one of the only things in the game that can kill Nagash.
Well, no, I mean generally you can't kill Nagash either. I'm not talking about Arcane.
I don't
Yes,
think Nagash is killable. I think Archaon is the only thing that can kill Nagash.
right.
Now.
But so I would say yes. Like I hate. It's the same thing with Bellacore. I don't like the fact that. I don't like personally putting them a tier higher just because of one model carrying
Well,
their
it's
ass.
not tied to one model. Look, I'll explain it based on what. So Mega Gargants, we all know Mega Gargants are great. They won't beat Slaves of Darkness in the hands of a good player because they'll never get there. A Corn Demon Prince all by itself is going to shut Mega Gargants down.
That's true.
You're going to build into a one-drop list, and Mega Gargants are going to come to the middle of the table and sit there and watch me bring them down like the Battle of Pelennor Fields. I'm going to have Marauders crawling all over them.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think they're definitely one of the stronger
Lots
factions.
of really good tools.
Yeah.
And like you can get access to casting rerolls. You can get access to hit and wound rerolls. Like very consistent. And then lots of really good buffs, lots of redundancy. And then it's not like a one build army either. I think there's a really strong build with the Corn Demon Prince and Vellacore. And a lot of the sub-factions. Probably the spoilers
Making the
is what I would pick.
Corn Demon Prince a wizard and completely fucking up the way that the game was meant to be played.
That's really wrong, sport.
Rules
That's
is
exactly how the
intended-
game was.
Okay.
We talked about this. That's rules is intended. Yeah. Rules is written. That's how they intended it. Don't hate me.
I
Hate the rules writers.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't make Archaon a general all the time. Games Workshop.
That
did.
was,
So
I think
now-
that was a huge part to it. You know, like I will say, like a lot of those armies that had those god models that were not like you wanted to run them as a general, but usually it would be better to run X amount for the command
Well,
trait
you
and
you
whatever.
didn't even have a choice in Host of the Everchosen. Archaon.
Right,
has
but
to be
that
your
was
general.
predicted. I'm talking about like if you were to, you know, bring him in some other type of list and you wanted to run Archaon, you know, it would sometimes you would see it where he's not the general that you're running. You put some like you'd have a Chaos Sorcerer Lord on foot be your general for that specific reason. And I'm not just talking about slaves. I'm talking about like other armies like Lumineth.
Yeah.
You would never make Teclis your general under any circumstance. Because then you wanted that goading arrogance or whatever anything like that. So now I do really like that. I think they're like Gavin said earlier, they miss some because like I think Skragrott isn't general all the time, which I find really weird. But you know, I understand as far as like yes, I think Archaon is really good.
They got a good spell lore. They got
Used to be impossible.
tools to reroll. They got tools to reroll those spell lores. Like they got buffs on them. Teleport.
One of the best, probably the best teleporting unit in the game. I think. Like Marauders with a teleport and full hit and wound rerolls are gonna be really hard to keep off your
Rerolling
objectives.
charges, yeah. Like, I mean, I think it's gonna be. I mean,
it's like anything; it requires a brain to play.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think
So,
if
like, you'll see a spectrum of play.
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see how that goes because I feel like a lot of people now are gonna. You can make a mistake much easier too, because if you got to make sure whatever you're charging with that redeploy, there's nothing else near that within 9, because then you can
100%.
move your units back. Like your opponent's gonna move their units out of the way, and yeah, you get 12, but all they have to do is roll a 4.
They can't see that particular.
If you're
rule,
within
they
9.
can't.
Within 9.
You
That's what I'm
can't.
saying. No, I'm saying you can't. You have to make sure that nothing else is within 9. but people are going to make that mistake. Like if they ran
well,
up
I mean,
something, like whatever, let's say
oh, I
Archaon,
see what you're
yeah.
saying. If they ran up,
I'm
not if they
not. I'm
don't
not saying.
teleport.
I'm just saying people are going to make mistakes a lot easier than before, where it was just like, oh yeah, this unit's doing off whatever it wants, and then my Chaos Knights are running up to charge something right next to it. Because now you got that. You have Overwatch, which is really nasty because you can think I'm going to get that charge, but 20 Sentinels shooting at you, like that's going to really suck. So I mean, it's definitely strong.
Easy to chain off of other units, but yeah, it does. It's not just point and click like it used to be. There's other stuff to be aware of for sure.
I think it's really good though. I'm not trying to hate on it. I think that this is like most armies, but especially this army. I think because it has such a high utility that you're going to see a lot of players like really struggle to make it work properly against if they're fighting
you think
skilled
about
players.
it. You think about it. Some disadvantages that it has. It doesn't have any shooting.
Yeah. Well, and
it
you're
doesn't
putting
have
so much in a big model too. In most, if you're running Archaon.
Yeah.
You have to know how to use them.
To run those big models, you got to know how to use them. That was a huge intimidation factor for me when I first started playing the game. Was I don't want to put that many points into a big model and then I use them.
You lose them in turn. Yeah.
I just think now, like, you really got to be bad to lose Archaon in a turn right now. Like, you got to ignore the.
You have to try.
Actions.
Yeah.
But if you lose Archaon on turn 1 now, you don't.
I think on the flip side, it's much easier to be overconfident with him and charge him in thinking that he's invincible. Well,
there's no such
thing. You put a lot of attacks into him. He is going to fail those once. Now that you don't get the reroll saves, you're gonna fail on once.
Yeah.
And that damage will add up, and then you can't fly out of combat because it's just. I think he's going to struggle into some of those armies that can just throw a bunch of useless crap at him. Right, exactly. So I think it's good.
People just get him stuck.
Yeah. I'm going to put this army in trash because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So, Tzeentch.
What is that? What army is that?
Turkoman's Horde. Yeah.
Yeah. Tzeentch.
They
Tzeentch
got hit really hard
to rate because it's. What are we? Well, I mean, it did, but it didn't. Like, it still got.
Here's the thing.
And it's still got crazy summoning mechanics. The book from the top down is still good.
As of right now, I'm almost certain that if you were really trying to be an asshole, Tzeentch actually does really well. I would put them powerful because I think more than Maggotkin, more than a lot of these other armies we've talked about, is just being like a wound dump. You just run as many pink cores as you want and give your opponent the middle finger because you're just not letting them play, and then you just run Guild of Summoners or whatever, and you just overwhelm them. And unless they have that kind of like damage check, they'll because the rally, right? I mean, we've talked about that before, where they still have yet to FAQ that. And so the FAQ as it is right now, unless I'm mistaken, you just run a 20 block of pinks. Let's say they do 60 wounds to your pinks. You pass
30 block.
Well, 30 or 30 block. You can't. Yeah, but I think on average, like if you ran like 20 blocks or something like that, excuse me, you just have it where you take 60 wounds, and then you rally, you bring 10 pinks back. And it's like, okay, well now I started with more wounds than I originally had. And it's so dumb. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen so far as
you can take Life Swarm too.
Yep, Life Swarm, you can run Host Duplicitous. Yeah,
like
auto pass your Battle Shock.
Yep. Well, and the thing is they have the leaders.
At least got FAQ'd to it's only a 10-man. It's not going to make a copy of the whole unit, right? They at least did that.
Well, but the thing is too, you can just summon pinks now, like if you want to, and you just keep doing it. You bring the Gaunt Summoners on foot, and you get the they went up points wise, but it doesn't matter. You're still getting a bargain for 5 pinks and a spellcaster. So
you can also just summon the Lord of Changes straight up 9 points for Lord
Yeah.
Change.
Well,
and that one.
my current
They have
Zinch
monster
list.
keyword, right?
Yeah, my current excuse me, my current Zinch list. I'm getting a keeper almost, or I'm sorry, not keeper, a Lord of Change almost every single turn. You can get 4, maybe 5 if your opponent also has spellcasting, because you're doing I think 15 spellcasts a turn, and then every time you summon Lord of Change, you get two more spellcasting. So it's ridiculous how that army is going to just check 80% of the players and armies out there because you
Seems
can't
like
do
an
anything.
underdog army.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I summon this chicken, and now it's a monster hero, so it also gains the same benefits as everything else that I have because it don't no longer can't use its behemoth keyword or its monster keyword. So it's really dumb, but everyone I think kind of lost it when flamers went up.
The tools are just good. Like
Yeah.
Destiny dice are really
Amazing.
strong situationally.
Amazing.
Like, if you just
Kairos.
find the situations where those, they're great.
Yeah, those-
Agendas are great,
Yeah.
and you'll see a lot of people just forget to use agendas, and it's like a great tool.
Yep. I think personally,
I think it'll just make people explore the rest of the book with a no change host,
Yeah.
right? Like that's what it's gonna
yeah,
be.
exactly. I completely
I
agree.
think the book is still really strong.
I think
Oh yeah.
Kairos is
Powerful show.
really good now. Like I thought he was always pretty decent, but now he is amazingly good. That one dice change is like, it used to be just kind of a little gimmick, but man, that thing saves my ass so many times when I've played
Well,
it.
you think about it, like
Well, because imagine
I
you
mean,
can teleport Archaon into me, and I just change your dice roll, so you fail even though you have reroll charges. So it's just one of those things that's it's insane. Yeah, I can stop Marauders from charging. I can stop all these other guys from charging because it changes it, and you can't modify it thereafter. So if you teleport, it's an auto fail every time. So I mean, because I've thought about.
Archaon is good here too.
Yeah, well, yeah, and Archaon
Really good.
in Zinch is probably like the most ridiculous thing ever. I mean, unless you're rolling like Brian, but otherwise, if you're not sure if you can get the Slayer of Kings, you can just use Destiny
yeah, you
dice.
just auto teleport, auto charge, auto Slayer of Kings. Get the fuck off my
You
board.
just pick something on the board and say that thing's dead. Yeah. I would agree
So
with
it's like hard to raid, right?
yeah, I would say the problem is the mortals
I think it's
are
powerful.
kinda
I think it goes
shit.
into powerful.
the mortals
Yeah,
are
they've
kind of
always
shit right
been
now.
shit, but it's never affected that book's tier standing.
Right, but it
Morals
used
have
to
always
be.
been shit. Move it up to powerful, right there by Mega Guard.
I would
That's where it
say-
belongs.
They're powerful, but very limited. You almost know exactly what that person's going to bring, just like Megas. Or just like Gargants.
Yeah. In a way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beast Claw Raiders, I assume this is just for actual mounted ogres.
Well, we have like it, so it's split up in foot and beast claw.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how they played in 2.0. I think it's still that way. And this,
Pretty
I don't
much.
think that you're encouraged to mix these two inside this book at all.
No, you're not even encouraged.
Even less so now.
The better half of the book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
would
I
say-
think that where these are gonna like kind of hang out at is they're like great value Mega Gargants now. Like that's where Beast Claw is. So I think those are
Top
in
of good.
And then Foot Ogres are probably underdog or trash, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would almost say they're.
We're Foot Ogres.
I feel like.
Trash or underdog.
I think they're
right?
trash, honestly.
Trash or
I
underdog?
think Slanesh beats them. I didn't even think about that before, but honestly,
If
I
you're
think.
just playing Foot Ogres.
Yeah, no,
like,
I think
by
they're
themselves,
trash.
I think they're trash.
I think
yeah.
they're trash. Yeah, I think they have to. They are probably one of the worst factions in the game. I think. Because I mean, I
No one's
play
playing
ogres, but I
ogres.
don't even own a foot ogre model.
I
The
do,
hunt,
and I'm
the
trying
Icebrow
to make them
hunter.
work, and they don't work. They don't.
Oh, boy,
No.
it's not-
I think
what-
Glutos and Sigvald by themselves can kill an entire army of ogres on foot.
Yeah, I mean, they have lots of spamming. They spam lots of attacks, so they've got that going for them. But
Rend used to
I don't
be
know, they-
kind of
like,
their
the big
thing.
units of
Go ahead.
They're even harder to play now, right? Gluttons
You
are
can't run
like,
them
because they're
in.
on the 40 mils. They're even harder to play. You can't string them out. So how do you get them in combat? You have like a whole rank of ogres doing
Mm-hmm.
nothing. Like, I mean, I guess you can play Iron Guts in big blocks, like, but still, they just die to stuff that hits them first, which is like everything in the game.
They die to everything. They just
don't know.
Yeah,
can't
well,
fuck.
and the thing is too is I don't think we mentioned it, but I mean, if you play 3.0, Rend really got somewhat nerfed in 3.0 with the way you can stack saves and stuff now. You can put any hero or whatever at like a +3 to their save, and so the thing with the
Well,
when
ogres on the glutton side, like they didn't even have a lot of rend. They just had a lot of high damage attacks. So
but they needed
gluttons
the
may
Rend to
be
the Rend made the difference though. Like you if you had like same with trolls, you just throw a bunch of attacks with high damage and any that failed it hurt. But I mean, when I fought an ogre player who had nothing but iron guts and stuff, it was one of those things where like I just put +3 to save on or +2 to my save on Kairos, and he didn't even take a wound because it just you're like, oh, I'm a 2-up save or whatever. Like you can't really bug me at all. So I do think that they are
yeah.
really bad right now. They definitely need some love. I think
I
that's
think
why
you
the
play through gluttons. Personally, I don't think you play through iron guts because the neg one rend 3 damage is cool, but that neg one is getting negated most of the time.
-1 Rend is pretty bad right now. I think it's
and for the points, it's probably better to just run gluttons because the 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, no rend 2 damage, so you can still get +1 to your save. I don't know.
yeah,
I
but
think
you're still
probably gluttons.
you're still encouraged to run them in big blocks, but you can't do that effectively.
I think
No.
gluttons, lead belchers, and iron blasters. That's your build.
Yeah.
And it's not
I
great.
think your build
It's still
is
trash.
Beast Club. Like honestly, I think you don't run
Yeah.
foot ogres.
I'm just saying if we're gonna run foot ogres, you build around iron guts, lead belchers, and iron blasters. I mean, not iron guts, gluttons,
Yeah.
and it's still kind of trash. Like, I want to play it. I want it to be good, but I want people who look like me on the tabletop hitting me with a stick.
All right, enough talking about that terrible
Next,
list. Bone Splitters.
Bone Splitters. Yeah, so here's where I'm at with Warclans. Is I don't think that the book is worth rating.
Yeah, I was about to
Really
say
honest,
we know they're getting a book update. I would say right now
Yeah.
they're kind of I think they're underdog because they have a lot of their stuff is like anti-monster, but they lost their monster. So it's like, oh,
Yeah.
like that, that rogue idol was a
now,
huge
like,
part of their
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. Like, I think that they'll stick around. If I was gonna guess, I don't think they're gonna get rid of that stuff. But you don't know for sure.
Yeah, well, as of right now, if
And
we're
they
to
don't
look
have
at
good
it,
monsters outside of that. Yeah.
I just think that it's
Like
like
they really are like they're a big wall accessory, right? Like that really
Right.
is where the Bone Splitters faction
that you bring the
sits right
the
now. Like great spell lore,
orc arrow
great
boys and the
buffs
priests.
to stuff that's right.
Yeah,
But
orc.
on their own, it's really difficult to play that army by itself, right?
Yeah, they don't with all the
Like
movement
underdog,
buffs they have, you don't really get where you need to quick enough still. And they're
Yeah.
you're
Solid. Like they get a lot of wounds. Like a lot of wounds.
terrible save.
Yeah, what's that like?
Yeah.
360 wound army that you could put out with bone splitters.
I know you could easily get
Again,
close to like 250 or more, but the problem is it didn't matter.
That's a good point too. Is they've got a lot of their stuff. They have a lot of things that trigger on 6 to hit, and I think that the way that the new wording on that is that they can only ever benefit from it once, right?
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't know how their
No,
rules
yeah, they
interact with that. But
most of their stuff were stacking 6s to hit, and it specifically said that, but the problem is if it worked in the same phase, it does not count. And so a lot of their buffs would be like, oh, when you land a 6, it does this. But if it came from 2
Yeah.
or more abilities, it doesn't count. And so they Yeah, I think Kyle said it right. Where they're just a bunch of bodies right now. They're the ultimate wound check because they're just 6-up,
And
feel
I
no
think,
pain,
I
6-up
don't think,
save with a 6-up ward save.
yeah, and I don't think the Games Workshop gives a fuck because a new book comes out, so
No.
they're just like whatever.
Well,
like, let them
I'll just put
like
these
play it for
guys
a month.
down here then. To be
Yeah,
continued.
it's almost like you don't even want to rank them. Yeah, because they're so incomplete. I mean, you're not going to see them before their new book. I
Yeah,
think.
because
I mean,
think
you might see one person trying to play them, but
I think Cruel Boys are gonna be sick. I think they're gonna be really good.
new edition.
Yeah.
War Clans. I think War Clans is going to be really good.
Especially how
Whatever it
popular
becomes.
they are. Bet your ass
Mhm.
people are gonna expect them to be good.
Bloom
Oh.
Spite. That's you. Go ahead.
So it's kind of interesting because Moon Clan, I feel like got absolutely shit on. Like if you were to rank in 2.0, the way that I saw it was I thought Trolls were the best, Squigs were second, Moon Clan was third, and the Spiders were last, like dead last. They were trash. And then you had all the White Dwarf stuff, and then they got slightly changed and tweaked into going into Kragnos book. But then 3.0 removed all the battalions. Well, every single one of those sub factions, out of all the armies in all of AOS, they were the ones that ran their super battalions more consistently than anyone else. And so removing that, I think, especially with Moon Clan and Squigs, really hurt it. That being said, I think that Squigs are still pretty decent. I think Trolls are still pretty decent. I think part of it to me depends on what happens to the Troll Hag, because I think she is not as important as the Rogue Idol, but she's the only hero monster that Trolls have, and she has so much healing and she has so much potential. But regardless, I actually think that if Spiderfang supposedly are getting like some new models or whatever, if they get some small tweaks, they're actually going to be really good. I put a list together with 4 Arachnaroks, which before was just completely meme worthy. But now with the you bring 2 of the Shaman Arachnaroks and 2 of the War Party Arachnaroks where they have the rerolling charges and stuff. That stuff with the monster keywords is kind of tough to chew through. It's actually surprising how their damage potential is not that amazing, but everything that you're doing with them is all about mortal wounds. And since saves and rend really don't matter anymore, because you can just so easily negate the other one unless you have like -3 rend or whatever, it's actually kind of good. I don't want to say it's great. I think Gloomspite Gitz is probably the best good faction out there.
Yeah, I think they're solid too. I think, like you saying, the mortal wounds are going to be a lot more important.
Yeah,
in
they
3.0.
have a ton of monsters. They have a ton of different units. Their Loon Shrine is hilarious. Their the moon is still good. Everything about it is fine. The one thing I don't like is so many of their war scrolls, especially for Moon Clan and stuff, they work around minuses to hit and stacking, and also 6s, like increasing the pluses to hit on like the spears and stuff.
Right.
And the problem is you can't do that anymore. And so,
It's capped at
yeah, it used to be a problem against like Lumineth and stuff because they were just doing ranged mortals against you anyways. But especially now, it's like you can't stack those minuses to hit, and it's just not good enough. When there are armies, once again, like Lumineth, that their entire army is -1 to hit innately, you can't really. I don't think that they need to change it somehow.
Yeah.
So yeah, and like Zach said, and like I was saying earlier before the stream started, the Loon Shrine, you can garrison 30 models in it. So someone's gonna figure out, probably Zach, gonna figure out some really ridiculous way to abuse that. So
Yeah, you can teleport the whole Loon Shrine.
Yeah, he's pretty good at finding ways to abuse the rules.
I think you just put all your units in there and then spend each turn teleporting something outside of it to wherever you need to be. And if they get near the Loon Shrine, you just destroy them with whatever you got. So, but I would say they're probably I think they're better and have more versatility than Beast Claw Raiders, but and I think they're better than Corn. I'm not worried about Corn versus Gits.
For sure.
They have a
So
teleport. I
yeah,
think
they
that's
have
the separator.
teleport. Yeah, they have.
Like, what in good has a teleport? And like, I think that alone will give them
Yep.
an edge a lot of the time, right?
Yeah, and they have both the monsters and the high model count if they need to, and they're honestly really they didn't get hit very hard at all with the point increases. I think almost everything in the entire book only went up 5 points. So, and their endless spells are great. Honestly, like they are fantastic.
Yep.
So I would say best. I mean, do you guys agree? You think that's probably where they
I think it's
line
a
up?
good place for them. Yeah, good.
I think they're
Probably good.
terrible models, but yeah, they go in good.
No, which ones? They got some really good models.
I was like, what are you talking
The
about?
moon Klangrots are
Oh, well, some of those are
They're
fantasy.
goblins.
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do with goblins? Come on. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
terrible.
All right, so up next we got Feck.
Oh,
This is something I played for a while, and I think that they are sitting really pretty for 3.0. Like you said, they with Gloomspite is they got left alone with points changes. It's like almost nothing went up. And if it did go up, it went up by 5 points, I believe. I'd have to look really close to know.
I think
sure,
that was pretty similar, yeah.
So that helps them out a lot. The way that their summoning is structured helps them out a lot in 3.0 because you get more CP, and all of their summoning is worded as a different command ability. So you can use all of their summoning in the same hero phase. And a lot of it can be free if it's next to the shrine, their terrain piece, their Carnal Throne. So that fares a lot better than it did in 2.0 because you're not fighting with your extra activations in the combat phase. You're not fighting with those anymore. So I think that they're going to be a really strong army, probably powerful, if I was going to guess, just because summoning is really strong and they summon really well and they have really good damage options. And then I think the meta will also shift away from a lot of what was killing Feck, which was a lot of range damage and shooting. There'll be some in the meta still, but it's not going to be as prevalent as it was before, I think, and that'll help it out just naturally. So I think that Feck are going to be right back at where they were, end of 2019. I think that that's where you're going to see Feck.
Fast hitting.
Not
Well, especially with the
not
smaller board.
release Feck. It's not, yes, with smaller board too, it's a really good point. But they're not. It's not going to be release Feck, but it's going to be like after 2019 GHB Feck, where they were like.
it's not going to be
really
Gristlegore.
solid. No.
Where
not Gristlegore.
40 out of the
I
70
never-
players
I
are
never
running
got to
Feck.
play that.
Yeah.
I never got to play all that.
Nobody did except the three guys that play tested the book, and then it immediately
Yeah.
got nerfed.
They're like, oh yeah, it's fine, and then showed up with it to the tournament and all played each other in the end of the tournament. Ridiculous. That's not why you're a playtester.
So
if
where
you
would
didn't
you
know.
where would you put them?
In powerful? I don't know. Let's see what we got in powerful. Giants, Archaon, or Slaves of Darkness. This is basically Archaon, and then Zinch and Maggotkin. I think that
I do believe they can power through Zinch. I do think that's probably the case, and I think they stand a good chance against Suns.
through anything that's a damage check. I think that they're one of those armies that can kill the damage check armies. So I think that it's like a push with Nurgle because Nurgle does a lot of the same things. It's going to be whoever gets their engages off. They're really similar to Maggotkin actually, where they're buff dependent. So what they do is volatile. So it's going to be like who gets engage and who gets their buffs in that matchup. And then they can definitely kill giants, I think. Like the Terrorgeist is going to have trouble activating twice, but I still think they have enough damage to bring down giants. So they're like in that weird like pyramid with giants and Maggotkin. I think Slaves is just better than they are because they have more tools.
Sounds
so
about
I think
right.
they're in there somewhere.
Okay. And I put them in between Maggotkin and Suns because I think that I haven't seen a whole lot of gameplay, but I think Maggot can just get their stuff off a little bit easier than
Yeah,
than
it's
back.
probably true. Yeah, a lot of their stuff is it just happens. They don't have to roll for as many things as Feck does. So
All right,
good
so
place for him.
up next we have Legions of Nagash. Is that
Good. It's gone. Get rid
yeah?
of it.
Okay.
Just put it in trash.
And
You
It
can, you
then
doesn't
can put
exist.
that up there. That can be our Soul Blight instead of
oh,
what's it? Legion
the
of
last
Asgore.
time
Or
we'll
do you
see
do you want
Elevate up
Legion of
there.
Asgore?
No.
Put it there. It's a meme,
It's fine.
dude.
Yeah, that's fine. Ryan came in and he's like, is there a reason why you put it up there with God Beast?
Yeah, just out of spite.
Because it should be up there. That's why.
Yeah,
Give it a
it
year.
will be.
It'll happen.
Yeah, it'll be there. Yeah.
Night Haunt.
Mm. Well, do they fit?
Yeah.
This is the problem I have with Night Haunt, right? Do they have the monster? Like they just don't, right?
No.
They've
They
got
well,
one maybe.
if the
Yeah,
Morgul sticks
Morgul.
around, but the thing is, who the hell is running that and doing it competitively? Most people are bringing Morgul because it's just overall somewhat decent. You're getting the -1 to hit aura, and it heals. But personally, I think the coach does better, but it's not a monster, and their
Right.
spell casting
If
isn't
the-
very good.
I think that like alone, like if the Black Coach was a monster,
It'd be
then
ridiculous.
they could be a good army. I think it's an underdog army because they don't have a monster option.
I think
Like,
it's
it is
probably the
that
best
it just
underdog army.
keeps them there, right? Like
Yeah.
there are plenty of tools, like more tools than these other underdog armies have.
Yeah,
But
if they
like,
roll some big charges, they're gonna blow your army
Well,
up. Like,
well, because like, so my list that I ran, it has like 35 hex race, a black coach, and then the hero spam with the 20 blade guys. I can kill a lot of stuff that I get into, and I can table my opponents, but you're always fighting uphill the entire game. You're always fighting uphill because it's not about just overwhelming your, like at the local that we were playing, it wasn't it before it was I just swarm the board wherever I need to be and overwhelm you. Now you kind of just can in most of those you can sit back and just if you survive and you have a monster, you will always be ahead because you just have to
Right.
get those battle tactics with that monster
yeah,
and make sure it doesn't die. And the thing is, Nighthaunt don't have the before I kind of find that it's the same thing with trolls where Archaon for instance. Archaon, if I ran a 6 block of trolls into him, there's a pretty good chance they slap. Same with Nighthaunt. If I ran in a 40 block of Chain Rasp or whatever the case is that are running into him, there's a good chance that he cannot get out of there unscathed. He's going to take some damage. And so,
fuck up 40 chain rafts.
if they swing first, especially if they get the 10+ charge into him or whatever, even techless before, there was a good chance you could do some damage to him. But now I think with the way the new saves and stuff work, and that Nighthaunt don't benefit from all the pluses to save that they can get, it kind of puts us in
Well, you're
this.
forgetting like a big, especially against an Archaon matchup. Where does their damage come from? Mortal wounds on 6s. Archaon makes them re-roll that shit.
Exactly.
Like,
Well, yeah. Well, I'm not. Yeah, I used Archaon as an example, but those god heroes used to be in trouble by those hordes, where now
yeah,
they
no,
definitely
I'm-
gave them the center stage, and which is fine. I prefer it, to be honest. But Nighthaunt doesn't have any of that. They don't have a monster. They don't have a centerpiece hero that can tank all that stuff. They just have fast, hard hitting, deep striking models, and the problem
very
is that
strange that they don't have. Well, I think the Black Coach and Olinder and probably and what Kurdos at
Yeah.
minimum, those should be monsters.
Yeah.
Like I don't see how you can like.
and it's on a
give
rogue
that-
idol base. It's massive.
Right.
Like the Black Coach is
I don't
huge.
I don't see how you could. It's also it's like a specter. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a
and Lady
monster.
O is a Mortark, and she's the only. Well, I guess Catacross isn't a monster either. But
Yeah, but the dude's
The other
20
more
fucking
cards.
wounds.
It's just,
yeah,
I don't see how you could give that book like to somebody and be like, here, win consistently with it if it doesn't have a monster. in
Yeah,
it
it's
for the battle
super.
pack. Like
Right out of the gate, you're fighting uphill. I think that's
Yeah.
they're an underdog army that, like we saw, they have the potential to win games and win games against armies that realistically I didn't think that I could beat.
Well, in
But
2.0. They
yeah,
were an underdog army in 2.0.
right.
But
But
like,
I think that most people are just not going to be able to keep up with it, and it's gonna be too difficult for them to make it worth it. So you can do it, but you're kind of hurt. You're kind of playing hard mode in something.
yeah.
So all right. So OBR.
OBR. Well, Petrifex back on the menu, right?
Yep.
Welcome
Redemption.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, they spent their time in purgatory long enough, according to Games Workshop. They're like, okay, well, you can play again.
They.
And I think they're gonna be like powerful, right?
I.
Or are they good?
I think
that's
they're
that's
like
where-
Git's level of strength, in my opinion. I don't
Yeah.
know, because like Beast Claw kind of
limited. Like it's always the same OBR argument, right? They have limited tools, but their tools are really, really
they
strong.
need those
And I think-
archers.
I think
Purgatory
you know,
mode. Purgatory tier.
I'm on the forums for OBR because I'm working on this army for Hammerfest, and everybody just seems to be down in the dumps about it. I think it's still really strong, and I think it's a similar Petrifex build to what
Well,
we were seeing.
Well, they're mad that that everyone has their
basically
command
OBR
stuff.
stuff now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it, but like we were talking about today, like why don't we focus on what we do have instead of trying to make shit out of smoke and mirrors and read rules how we want to read rules. And like I think OBR has a competitive build, so much so that I'm going to take it to Houston to Hammerfest probably. I got to hammer out getting the rest of the army done, but they have a fast, reliable monster in Petrifex if you run Arkan.
What's the shield wall ability now? Or is it not even worth using?
Their shield wall ability, their shield wall ability stayed reroll.
Oh, so they're like the only thing in the game that has the reroll saves?
They've got a full reroll in combat, and it happens at any point in combat, I believe, or no, during
But
combat phase.
But when it's targeted.
Yeah.
So, but you can't do it on multiple units,
Right.
because those are command abilities still. They just use relentless system points to activate them.
I mean, it's going to take a good player to know where to pick.
Well, Kevin's got a good point, and it's what I see in my list building also, is you're going to generate plenty of RDP. You're just not going to have anything to use it on because you can't activate those abilities.
Sounds like a nice problem to have, dude. What are you talking about?
Not really. Like, how often are you just sitting there with extra command points left with your army? Even though you're only generating 3 or 4 a turn, you're using all of those. What's the point of having this giant pool of resources that you can't use?
Well, you wind up using a lot of it still because theirs only generates once per battle round still, right? They didn't change that. So, I mean, you still want to have it for your opponent's turn also.
No, I agree, but it's still, what you used to have is, if, say, you ran 2 or 3 units of Mortec, you used a lot of that, the shield wall.
I don't think you can spam the same unit like you used to.
Which is...
You can't move more than 1 unit, the extra 3 inches, like...
Right, you're just encouraged to play more than 1 unit type, because every unit has something different, right?
I agree with you. Like, I never really was a big fan of the big blocks of Mortec Guard being pushed around by a Harvester. And I'm still not going to play a Harvester. I'm still not going to play big blocks of Mortec.
Yeah, I think that's like where OBR is that a lot of people are going to try and do the square peg round hole with like all Mortec and Harvesters.
Just bashing their head against the...
work pretty well because the Harvesters are monsters, so they fit pretty well into the new edition, but I think that there's
not a monster you really want in combat. They're more of a buff piece, and
they're not fast either.
Well, that, and I mean, but I think the, I mean, I haven't played it in a while, but I think the because what's his face is still good, right? The like Catacross.
Catacross?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Catacross Arkan, I think.
Yeah, that exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking was Catacross Arkan. Yeah.
If you build off of anything else, then you're trying to force Nagash in there, which is fine.
They do get it in both hero phases now too. So yeah, I can see how they're definitely like running out of things to spin it on.
But
Well,
I think what's going to happen is there will be an FAQ eventually that allows them to be able, like, if you're not going to give them the normal command abilities, then don't restrict them to the normal command ability rules. Like, it makes sense regarding those normal command abilities that I can't put all out defense and all out attack and all this on
I
the
think
same
that,
unit
yeah.
10 times.
Well, that was the problem, right? People would run one big block of whatever they were wanting to bring, and then just dump everything they could into them, and then just run it up the board and let it take care of everything. Where now
Mhm.
you can't, you have to run it like other units.
Well, I think all of us that play each other a lot here in our group, we know the build with what do you call it, OBR, that's going to be good. We have a build. I stole it from whoever stole it from whoever he stole it from, and that's what I'm going to play.
So where would we put this then?
That particular build, I think, is powerful in my opinion. I think Arc and Catacross and what you put around them in that build is powerful.
I don't think
I
it
think
beats.
it's going to surprise people.
I don't think it can beat Zincher
I
Suns
think
though.
it can.
It doesn't have to beat Zeech and Sons, and it has to beat everything below it.
Well,
I mean, as far as
that-
like
that-
moving it on the
okay,
powerful
so that's
scale.
a good way to that's a good way to separate it because I think it's at top of good because it's limited and it's kind of it bullies everything in the good tier
Mhm.
and below
Okay,
that.
put it at top of good.
And then
I
and
can
then
deal
you're
with that.
and then you got to punch up against these powerful armies. It can still play into these powerful armies, I think. Like you'll see some of these other armies that are coming up that will also probably be in the good tier that can
Yeah,
punch
put
up
it at top of good.
into the powerful tiers. But I think you're gonna see these powerful armies kind of not separate, but like win the majority of the time, right? If they're played well.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of
So up next we got the Crusaders.
The
Oh, yeah.
cities of Sigmar.
Cities of
Dawnbringer
Sigmar,
Crusader.
while they are
Yeah.
still, while they're here. So
I mean,
what were its weaknesses in 2.0, right? It was the battalion structure was a big hit against Cities of Sigmar. And then what else? Like that was a big hit. What other problems did it have in 2.0?
I mean that was the big one, and then keyword synergies being the big
I would say
thing,
keyword synergy was probably a big issue, and that
which you don't rely on.
it
as much
felt a
anymore.
little segmented from subfaction to subfaction. Where honestly, I don't know
Absolutely.
how you ran a Cities of Sigmar army and like how you had enough to like because almost every single subfaction you had to run a completely different army. It wasn't
Yeah.
like, oh, there's some things
Well,
I
that
can
was the
put
thing.
here.
It was marketed as this book where you can play all of your old cool stuff that you like, but damn sure don't try to play it all at the same time. Like
Yeah,
don't try to put
like
it all in there
it just
together.
seems crazy with how it almost seems like a different book for between like I understand like
Oh yeah.
Spider Fang and trolls and stuff, but at least I don't have to do that. I can play whatever I want in any of it. And this stuff,
Oh,
it
yeah,
seemed like
you
it was like
legitimately
stupid.
were, like-
Like you were an idiot if you tried to
But I
do
don't
that,
think
or
you
you just
have
couldn't.
those issues anymore.
Yeah.
Because you're not so reliant on those synergies anymore. You're not. Oh,
Well, and
my thing froze.
I think some of them too look actually pretty good because like
You're okay. You just knocked your phone over.
Yeah, I got to plug it in. It gave me the 20%, and
we got to wrap it up.
iPhones. No, you're good.
I think Excelsius looks cool. I think some of the new ones in the Broken Realms look pretty decent. But
I think there's plays all over the book now. I think the shit that everyone used to play, like Hallow Hard and all that,
I
ain't
think
to play anymore.
I think rumor wise, like I know it doesn't pertain to the list, but with the way they've been hyping up the Dawnbringer Crusades and stuff like that, I really think they're gonna make it where it's just like a start your own city, where you pick X from here, Y from here, and Z from here, and then that's how you kind of design your
Interesting.
faction.
I would really like that a lot if
Yeah.
you had that level of customization built into a book.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
I mean, that's how I think it's gonna be, or at least how they make it sound. Where they're building, like basically the fortresses are pre-made, and that their city essentially is pre-made to be what they want it to be from because
Mhm.
Sigmar chose it to be that way or whatever, and that the people are chosen specifically for that reason. So it's kind of like a la carte kind of build your own army kind of thing, and I think that could be really cool. But as of right now, it seems even when I've tried to put lists together, it's like I maybe get like a little bit of list here and there, but ultimately it's not. I don't like it. I don't like it personally.
I think I think battalion structure got a little better for them, and I think that also the
Oh,
way that their command abilities are structured helped a lot because you get more CP at a baseline now, and that was kind of what was limiting them before, was that you didn't have a way to get more CP, and they were really like CP hungry.
hungry.
So it was like a weird problem that fed into itself that got solved on both fronts.
It,
So now I think they're stronger than like
I think their
public
shooting is
opinion,
good. I
right?
think a lot of their shooting didn't get hit as
They
hard as
left
other
their
shooting.
points alone.
Yeah,
Like all of their points generally got left alone. They don't have great monster options in the book, but they have monster options. You just have to
I
explore
I think
the
they're
coalitions, right?
better than Gits. I don't. I mean, if I were to like be matched up, I think they're stronger than Gits just because they have the very similar like plethora of things, but their
Mm-hmm.
shooting actually outpaces what I think Gits can do. And you
They for
you
sure.
can run
Yeah.
magic. You can bring in Alariel or Teclis or all these other whatever, and I think that kind of puts them over the edge versus Gits. I don't know how they do it. Like, do you think they're better than OBR?
Mm, I don't know. Like that's kind of like that's where I'm stuck at. I don't know if they belong in like the lower end of powerful or like over OBR, or if OBR is just
I
better
think for
than
now, I
OR.
think you put them at the bottom of powerful because I think there's so much flexibility in
Yeah,
your list building.
probably. I think Brian's right. I think because of
Yeah,
the gods that you can bring from Order being in it.
options, right?
Yeah,
Like you just have more
because you
options
can bring
than
Marathi,
OBR.
Alariel,
Like
Teclis.
the two, like the better options, like the couple of better options that are in OBR are like as good as anything you can get out of cities, but cities has more options.
Yeah,
I think that's a good way
Hmm.
to
they're
describe it,
kind of like Gits and OBR, like the best of
right?
both.
And I think that they're gonna handle these armies in good and underdog pretty easily,
Mm,
and like compete with the powerful tier.
that sounds
I
about
think
right.
that's where
Well,
that's where cities will be.
yeah. All right. Well, I'll leave this next one to you two. Daughters of Cain.
Daughters.
They're still good.
Well, you got two
So if you look
monsters.
at the faction, right, you're looking for like tough, durable, fast monster, right? And they have that in the Shadow Queen. The problem with Doc now is that their options outside of that are just so limited. Like what's around the Shadow Queen
Yeah,
is limited, and they don't have any other monster options either. So like I think you're locked into a Marathi list at this point. Like you have to
almost
play
certainly.
Marathi for Doc to be competitive in 3.0, right?
Yeah. I think
But the
they.
bows, like one unit of 15 bows with the Overwatch is still playable. I think is still pretty good. Um,
Well, what we
but I
talked about, I think you can't tech into both style of snakes. You either go melee
All shooting
snakes
or
or you go heavy into shooting snakes. You can't run them both anymore.
add a narrative
Kyle.
tier.
Yeah, narrative tier, just for Brian.
Yeah, so I
I
think you get like one style of snakes, and the problem is fitting your force multipliers in on the back end. Like you're almost like you have to play Doc without your priest now, because you're probably not taking Hagnar anymore, and like if you're not taking Hagnar, the you might have one Hag. Like more than one Hag is like it's hard to invest that many points
Hmm.
into that because you're fishing for fives. Like and you're running out of points to bring other stuff when you spend that many points on Marathi. It's somewhere in good or powerful for sure. I just don't know where it fits, and like I don't know if it's
Well, I
competitive
mean,
with powerful, right?
I
Like
don't think it beats the powerful stuff consistently, but I think it beats the good stuff. probably often. I don't think it beats OBR often. I think OBR is going to just outmuscle it. It's just going to outlast what it can do because for all of Doc's abilities that everyone hated and how strong they seemed when all the buffs went off, they're still on a non-durable chassis that if it bounces and you got one round of rolling poorly and your army's gone except Marathi and the Shadow Queen.
Yeah, and they've got a good answer for Marathi too, the Immortal Contractor. And she can start to take damage when she's activating. So
I think they beat
it's
Gitz though. Almost certain.
Yeah, I think that's like where they are. Like they're like at that OBR level, right? Like they're there with like different problems. Like they have a better monster option than OBR does.
Yes.
But OBR has better stuff around.
Because
like
they're
from the top down, everything
also,
else is better in OBR.
Isn't the catapult a monster?
No.
Are you sure?
I don't think it is.
The catapult, it's a behemoth. I think it might be a monster too. Maybe. Perhaps.
Because if that's the case, then I actually think it's pretty good because you can just kill things and get the extra points.
Yeah.
If it is,
oh, it's a war machine. It's a war machine.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
They gotta do something with the war machine. I feel like war machines in general kind of lackluster. They don't get anything.
I mean, honestly, if the catapult was a monster, it would be too much.
What I think they're gonna do is a lot of these they're gonna redesign a battle pack for every GHB, and it's gonna focus on something like this every time. Like, I think that's kind of how they're gonna do the battle packs in the future. Is that it'll be around a realm and around a type of unit. So I think at some point you're gonna see war machines get their moment.
Yeah.
But right now it's just gonna be monsters for a year. Like,
okay. Well, how about
like that?
Fire Slayers?
So
100 Volcans.
Zach said top of good. Is that what he said?
Fire. Yeah, his opinion. Yeah.
They're really strong. Oryx get a lot of bonuses against monsters, and Magma Dross are a good monster option. I think the book got more healthy and better as a whole. Like, it's in a better place
60
now than
Hearthguard.
it used to be, where it's just a Hearthguard wall. It's just better for the game where they are, and it's going to be a better looking army now because you'll see a mix of everything. They get good. They get good wound density in most of their list building because a lot of their units are priced really well.
Well, and I think personally they actually play pretty well because most of the top factions don't really have a really good way of shooting, and that was I thought that was their biggest weakness, is that they usually never lost all their units, but if you sniped out the heroes, it got really bad really quickly.
Well, you can't. I mean, we got 3 out of the 7 that we have in the powerful right now to God Beast that have relatively decent shooting. You know, you got.
Well, I don't know.
Cities has good shooting. Slanesh has good shooting. Giants, if you run a bunch of small ones.
Well, Tzeentch does not have super good shooting, in my opinion, because their flamers are way too expensive for what I think they're worth. And with the Auric, like what Gavin was saying, you just shoot them first. You shoot them at a same range, and you can take out their stuff quite easily.
I agree with
cities,
yeah. Not all the shooting is gone.
But I think they're going to do good in the Suns.
Screams in tech.
The Hearthguard are weird because you don't have Lords of the Lodge anymore, making that brick better. And if you're playing Hermdar, your Hermdar fight first can get shut off by monsters now.
You almost have to run them in the Hunters of the Heartlands.
And then that creates different issues because you're going really high drop with a slow army. I don't know. I don't know where they sit. I don't think you build around Hearthguard anymore. I don't think you're taking that general.
Deep striking Auric, maybe? Is that the?
I think that's probably it. I think you're picking the
some
general that makes the Aurics your battle line, and you're playing like a 15 block with a deep strike.
Yeah, and then running Magma Dross. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because that's a lot of. I mean, you get a lot of prayers for that too. Because I think it's the Auric. It's the priest, right, that makes the Auric it's the priest that makes them the battle line. So you're just running almost all priests at that point.
Yeah.
Even
They've
the
got,
ones
like,
on
a lot of
Magni-Dross.
priests, enough to where they have enough junk War Scroll prayers that you don't really feel that change to their prayers, where they can only pray
Yeah,
once.
they
Like,
really only keep one good one anyway.
right. And, like, I think they're going to be a solid army still, played well. And, like, I don't think that the Hermdar Hearthguard wall is going to be a thing. There'll be somebody trying to play it. I don't think it's going to be very good.
No.
Because they don't play it with a monster. I guess you can play it with one Magma Droth and play her like Hearthguard wall, but I just don't
It's too
see that
slow.
sticking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just
I
move
don't think
wherever
that's
they're
gonna
not.
stick, yeah.
And the thing is, like you said, unless they're running also Hunters of the Heartland, you're gonna get a monster that's not even afraid of them anymore, because it's like, it's just you stop them from being able to
Fight first.
yeah. Zach thinks the Hearthguard blocks are still gonna be pretty nasty, and I think so too if they get into it. But I think it's the Gotrek problem now, even more so, where it's like you don't really have the ways to get, like he's gonna be easy to tie down. I mean, shackles, or like if they became prevalent, you're just gonna see people bring shackles and stuff and just stop them from doing anything.
They'll feel real bad for someone who like jumps feet first into the wood chipper. Like, if you're getting beat by Hearthguard, like it's almost like an IQ check. Like at some point, like just don't run into it. Like,
well, and especially now, they're just gonna sit
Right.
back. They're just gonna sit back, or they come to you and then you just run around them and take their objectives. Like there's really no incentive to fight them anymore. I mean, there never really was, but especially now, it's like they can't. Especially since they're also, if you run them in big blocks, you can't just string them out in a weird way now, where the cohesion isn't that. I mean, it hurts them a little bit more than before.
Yeah, I think Top of Good is a good place for them.
Yeah, I think they probably
think-
beat OPR. I think.
The more I think about it, I think that they're probably right around there, give or take a couple either direction, depending on how much you want to argue for. But I think that's a good spot for them.
I agree. What about Deepkin?
Deepkin, it's a solid monster option. I wouldn't call it like great, but the Leviathan's pretty good. It's not a hero monster. I would say it's a great option, but it's as good an option as you're gonna have.
They lost
it being a hero monster. Right?
They lost a lot with the stacking. Well, one with the CP
Right.
thing, that whole thing is gone. But I will say that the monster killing sub faction, was it Domhain. I think that is going to be like the must pick in almost every list you run. Which, I mean, I think a lot of people did anyways, but I think because it's reroll wounds against all monsters, right? I think that's the thing. But their heroes kind of got less incentivized to bring. Like the Killian's Kings and stuff are still good. You're still gonna want to bring them. I think the eels are still the way to go. But there are only 4 wounds for the eels.
Like,
you think
the Marty didn't get like a lot more expensive, did they?
I don't think they changed much at all. I think they went up like 10 points.
Moorstar went up to 195.
Well, you just
I think
that
this is one of those armies that like you're gonna see people play what they're playing in 2.0, and it's not gonna be good for 3.0. Like that play style is not gonna work as well as it did in 2.0, and I think it's already a niche army, and so the people who are playing the army are gonna be playing that, and it's not gonna be successful.
It's gonna be a big turn off.
Dismiss it as bad.
Yep.
Like I think it's just gonna get called bad. Where I think that there's still more play in the book than just that. There's more play in the book than it's just more SAR, like, or just shield deals, like, and I don't know. I really need to think about like where they go, right? Like it's a hard army to rate, but they have a good monster option, right? They have outflank and an ability to charge out of an outflank, which is really strong. And if you're building into Namarti, you can do Fliptide and get an army-wide fight first still. And I think that you're always playing Fliptide now because there's really no point in waiting till like there's really no
Turn
point in having
3.
an Achillean King general anymore, because you don't need those extra attacks because you can't stack them up really like you did before.
Yeah.
So you might as well play Fliptide, and if you're playing Fliptide, you might as well focus on Namarti. And I think
guess
that list could
Namarti
be better.
Thralls
I
rolling.
said that. I think the Marty are on their way to being good.
Right.
I mean, which is sad because I mean they're still not.
Not really. They're awesome freaking models. They deserve a place on the table.
Well, some people don't like them, but I think I
I
enjoy
think
the
they're-
models.
I think they're
Fantastic
okay.
models.
I just wish they had more to choose from. They kind of have this
Yeah.
weird scenario where it's like they haven't gotten any new models since release, and they have less models than
Oh, I'm not
Lumineth
saying
and
the
shit.
overall model range. I mean, I still think the model range that is available is really good. But yeah, they could use a little more. Like,
Well, I
I don't
mean,
like
they
the eels
raised their
very
most.
much.
Yeah,
They could flesh out both ends. They could come up with more
a different
like sea
eel
creature
and
mounts,
a different
like for sure more sea creature mounts.
I was telling-
and then for sure more Namarti.
They keep talking about Krakens in every goddamn book that comes out, and it's like, how is it that we don't have Krakens in Deepkin? Like, you got so many sea monsters that you could bring to the table that people would love, and they just haven't. They haven't decided to touch them.
And then Namarti also has that damage that is adaptable. It adapts based on your wound count, so that also gives them a lot of versatility on top of that. So I don't know. Like I think
Maybe
there's actually some pretty good play in Deepkin. It's just not what people are playing.
I think
in
they're
2.0.
better than Nighthaunt for sure, just because
No,
they
I
have the
think they're
monster.
I don't
You think
they're
so?
an
They're good
underdog
still.
army. You're not gonna sell me Deepkin being an underdog army. I don't think they're powerful, but they're definitely in the good tier. Like
I just
I
don't
think that
know.
people will-
I don't think they win
I think they're above
to
Doc, in my
Beast
opinion, right
Claw.
now.
Well, this is the rub here. Like, what in the head-to-head? How does Deepkin do against Doc? How does it control Morathi?
Morathi tears them
think
the
so.
fuck open.
Yeah, I
Right.
think you can't throw it. Like, you could throw shield deals and stuff at Morathi,
Yeah,
but
I don't. You can't judge it based on shield deals because I don't think that you're playing. I think you have some shield deals. That's the type of eel you're
Shield
keeping.
deals aren't gonna. Shield deals don't tie Morathi down anymore because you're playing Keltnar, and she retreats and
Right.
charges into something better. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
well, but I don't think
so,
Thralls do super well either because they're, I don't know, they have bad bravery. I mean, you're if unless you ran it with the whatever that hero is for the +3 bravery, I just don't think it's worth. I don't like I just don't think Thralls have ever really done well, in my opinion. Whenever I see the games and stuff, maybe with the bonuses they might be
you
better,
haven't seen
but
me play Thralls. That's why.
I haven't seen you
Thralls.
play Deepkin period, other
I
than
know.
Wooded and Sea.
I can't make myself play 15 armies at once, unfortunately. But in the head-to-head, I think it really
Somebody
is
good.
like it's a really close matchup in the head-to-head. I think that it'll be mission dependent and role dependent a lot of the time with Deepkin and Doc, and I think that's kind of what they're fighting with. If Keltnar becomes a predominant playstyle, I agree that Doc probably has a little bit of an edge, but it's not as much as people think.
mm-mm.
And I think that's probably where Deepkin are. They're
Well,
probably
especially-
below Doc, right?
Especially if you're
Right-
running
right next to
Domhane.
him.
Does Domhane do really anything against?
It helps you against the Shadow Queen, but you aren't going to have a damage problem.
You
with
guarantee
Shadow
your 3
Queen.
damage.
Yeah, you're going to be having a can I tie down Morathi, and you can't with Keltnar, right?
hmm So you
Nope,
think
she just
better than
retreats and charges out of
Gits,
there.
better than Gits,
You're-
worse
you're
than
on a
Doc?
Shark. That's a good point, Justin.
Shark
I
battle
like
line.
that.
9 sharks.
Yeah,
Make it happen.
also good. Why is the shark not a monster?
It
Please
used to
tell me.
be. They took it away.
I know. Why?
Everyone thought it
Give
was a
back.
better thing, and now it's like,
Give
oh, I
it
wish I had that back.
Yeah.
I think it's somewhere right there in the middle of good.
It can be. I think it's right there in between Gits and Doc. I think it's probably Doc probably beats it in the head-to-head more often than not, but it's also it can punch into Doc. I think that's where it is. About right there, right?
No, that sounds right. KO.
So KOs are hard to judge, right? Because it was already kind of an outlier in 2.0, like where it just required someone who knew how to operate the army, or and like the difference between the people who knew how to operate the army and the people that didn't know how to operate the army was literally like underdog and powerful. Like that's how big the gap was in between people who just shot what was in front of them versus like what you actually had needed to shoot, and that's how much variation there was for Army pilot. And now I think there's probably even less room for error because there's less redundancy in rerolls in the Army. So there's no more. The triumphs changed, and that it's probably for the better. I like that better for Caradron, and I think they need more uses of Aether Gold now inside of the book, like they got in the Bellicor book or Kragnos book, one of those.
Mm-hmm.
If they just keep adding those in, I would like that a lot. But they still have Warp Lightning Vortex, so they're in this weird spot.
How?
I'm not really sure where they go.
It blows my mind that they
Like,
it's not like it flew under the radar. Okay, there's no way that this flew under the radar with like it wasn't even people like us complaining against.
So you say
it.
like Kevin's saying top, and I think it's still strong. But what I think is going to happen is that there's no rerolls and they don't have a monster option, so they're going to have trouble scoring points. They'll be able to kill your monster, but they won't be able to get extra points. So they're going to be
pretty sure
like struggling a little bit, right?
I don't know. I feel like they can beat. Like looking, if I were to put them on the thing, I think they can still take out megas. I still think they can kill the chaff, or they don't have to bother killing a lot of the chaff because they just kill the heroes that hold the army together. And I feel like they probably only struggle against the super monsters like Archaon.
Right.
Because Archaon can't really be killed with all that shooting.
Yeah. So you think they could?
I think they're above Magikin.
Yeah. Yeah, they can still get Feck off the board. They can still kill giants, I think.
Yep. Because
with
they just
caveat that like there is no room for error for this army now. Like
it's super finesse. Yeah.
Although the bailout elements like reroll saves, all those are gone, and they made Fly High harder to use. So, like the stuff that would bail you out if like your dice went bad or you made the wrong decision, like that doesn't exist anymore. So, it's like I would say probably like above Mega Gargants, but the army falls off a cliff if you don't play it properly. I think that's kind of where they are.
Zach says he thinks they're not as good as Magakin.
Yeah, maybe. That's kind of where it is. It's like if played perfectly, like they beat giants, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they fall off a fucking cliff. Like, and if you're gonna, so if we're judging this based on if it's played perfectly, I think that they're up there above Magakin.
I think
but
they
if there's a human element, like this can easily become like bottom of good or even into underdog. Like that's how much it matters. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Lumineth.
Ugh.
I mean, we know where it belongs, right? Like, the question is it better than Soulblight?
No, I don't think it's better than Soulblight because I think it has more definable weaknesses. Right? Like it still can't do bulk damage.
A lot of these lower tier armies that like Soulblight would not even have to blink about, like Megas for instance. I think Lumineths struggle against a lot of those high
right.
or low model count, high wounds. Yeah, they can tie down megas and stuff, but they can't. They certainly can't. You're lucky if you kill a mega one turn each turn.
Right.
And it's just like by that point you're already way behind on points, and they're swinging back at you in the meantime. Yeah, you got the minuses and activations, but that chip damage just isn't enough. I think the same goes for Beast Claw. I think same goes for like most of the destruction armies. To be honest, a lot of those high wound count things.
But the problem is that the game structure, the scoring structure of the game favors Lumineth a lot better now.
Yes, it does.
To where they don't have to remove entire armies every turn. Like they get to play deeper into the game, so I don't think it's as much a weakness as it was in 2.0. It still is a weakness for sure.
I
They
think
just
they
need to
can
keep you.
sit
They need to
back.
maintain hold more and keep you from ever
And
getting hold more.
personally,
Yeah,
I feel like Techless is more important than ever. I mean,
yeah.
like
I,
he
I
is like the must pick, which is similar to what we've seen with some of the other stuff. But I almost feel like he got better in 3.0, which it's like
Well, he did
shit.
because he got a ridiculously low points increase.
Right.
That
Well,
yeah.
that I mean, the thing is, like,
Well,
I've talked to
Archeon had the same thing happen, right? Like
yeah,
relative to the
yeah.
meta, like it didn't get increased enough. Neither one did. I think if you're gonna make them play the way they are in 3.0, like they were
No,
both barely touched
no
for points
army,
increases.
no army changes the way you play with your army like
Mm.
Lumineth do. And I think even I still struggle with that
shit, they
shit.
don't even let you play. They don't
Well,
even let you
that's what
play
I'm
the game.
saying. Your CP is doubled. Your bravery is -2. Like, yeah, there's ways to get around it. Like they struggle against
They,
Archaon in the host of the Everchosen, but yeah, a
I mean,
lot of
sort of. Like if you're in Scion,
Yeah,
like I
maybe.
mean, they
Like
yeah,
sort of
maybe.
struggle. Like you can
whatever
control Archeon
double
in Scion.
activations. Yeah, it's just there's
Yeah.
nothing that whatever unit that you get into, like, because that's the thing. Like earlier today, I charged a bunch of my stuff, and it would be like, oh shit, that's gonna hurt me. But then I'm like, you know what? I can only swing once, and then he gets to be done with his entire army
Mm.
before I get my third activation, and
I think
everything's doing mortals.
if I had to place them, I think that they're very similar to KO, where they almost require you to be a good pilot, right? Like a good pilot is the difference in like a couple of tiers with this army. Like
Yeah,
you can easily play yourself into the bottom of good with Lumineth, even if you have Techless. Like it requires you to have like extensive knowledge on how your opponent's army works.
I
Both of those armies do.
I
They're
feel
both very
like
similar in that regard, right?
yeah, I think part of it is that they got hurt. If they still had the Twin Stones, if they still had some of the stuff that only recently got changed, that would
Mm-hmm.
hurt pretty bad. But their terrain piece is still amazing. Techless is still amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Their Aether Quartz are the best. They are always -1 to hit.
Sentinels
Sentinels
did
barely got
not go up.
changed, and
And you can take 30
yeah,
in
and
one
then just
unit
instantly. Well, so like
in
today,
Overwatch with
today
mortals.
we had it where I charged with something. He was able to Overwatch with the Sentinels, use the CP, and then use the Iliatha ability where his other thing got to shoot, and then he got to activate the actual shooting, or he got to activate the free one from the battalion. So he had three things shoot at me when I charged him once, and it's just like,
Mm.
shit, this army has
Not as intended,
everything.
Mr. Miller. Not as intended. So
And not only that, but the big thing that I think pushes over that is Edge is the Cathalar is still amazing. She is
Yeah.
still with that 2-up battle shock
All of
pass.
their
It is
stuff is
amazing.
really aggressively costed. Like the Regent's great, Dallar's great,
They don't
but
have
like
any bad things. I mean, their bad things
no,
are would
yeah,
be the.
exactly.
It's like, oh, this Mountain Spirit or these Blade
Right.
Lords or
That's
whatever
what you
would be
point
the
to.
best unit in any other army.
Yeah, win some, not
Well,
in
in
everyone.
most armies, it'd be like this is top tier shit for this army. That's what they're
Right.
spamming in their army. So the fact that Lumineth like considered that stuff as their it's not really worth playing in competitive. It's like it's just really really strong, and I think that most people are gonna struggle to play it correctly,
I
but
think that where Doc is y'all you probably won't understand the reference, Evan, because you weren't playing
right,
at the time, but
probably
all through 2019, Doc was kind of in this spot where they were there was something that was rare, so you didn't see it a lot, and it required you to like know what it required you to have good game knowledge, but it removes a lot of like rolling elements from the game. You just don't roll, so it's very consistent at what it does and has very good tools
right. That
that
sounds
work
about right.
against everything. And that's kind of what Doc was for the longest time. It just removed math, and if you had knowledge on how your opponent's army worked and played your army well, it was just like a nightmare to play against. And I think that's where Lumineth is going to sit until they see some like real points adjustments. And I don't know if it's going to happen because of how rarely they get played, and how rarely they get played well. Like there's just like you either judge the army based on what a player can do with it if played perfectly, or you judge the army on like what the actual
What the
results are.
masses do.
Oh yeah, I think
I
that
I don't know if there's going to be enough players playing it well enough to demand that the army gets points adjusted. Like I think that that's where it's going to sit for a long time.
yeah, it's just gonna be a nuisance. Which honestly, like the thing is that I really dislike playing Lumineth, but I think that's because their real purpose is they're a really good check against like a good player really knows how to check these really competitive armies that would otherwise dominate. Like Archaon, for instance, dominate. Well, now I mean a Lumineth list can check that list pretty easily and make it somewhat, I think, a problem for them. And a lot of these other powerful factions and even Soul Blight do get checked by
Shake your
Lumineth.
head all you want, Brian.
Check these nuts.
So I agree. I mean, like Zinch, I think would be maybe a little bit stronger, but an army like Luminous just shuts the magic down completely. So, and probably same goes for Feck and even Maggotkin, because it relies on magic to get them going.
I think like just because of their versatility, they're probably like top of A. Like I don't know
I
if they're
think yeah.
S. Like it's hard to put them S because they do have some real limitations. But because they're so versatile, I think they're just so good against the field as a whole. Like even if they have like matchup problems in a couple of situations, like every army does, and most armies have. Yeah, most armies have more matchup problems than they do.
Your cat.
What are you doing, cat? Why are you breaking my shit? See, this is why all my stuff's broken. You see this? I have proof.
Not on camera. Broke his camera. Hey, so
no, he's beating the cat right now.
Yeah, tossing the cat across the room. So, so as far as I think that's a good spot for him. I think that I haven't fought too many different Lumineth players, so I'm sure if I go up against other ones, I'll be like, "You got a long way to go, kid." But as far as where do you think Seraphon goes?
I still think they're powerful.
I have not played a Seraphon player since Croak got his update. It's kind of weird.
Well, I don't think you play necessarily through Croak anymore. I think you still can.
I think Croak is still
playstyle.
good. It's just you can't. His range has been severely limited.
Well, look at what didn't go up by a lot. The regular Slon, that was already an issue. Like they were already really good.
Yeah, but the spellcasting can still be. I don't know. I feel like spellcasting is easier to stop in that regard because one, they can just roll Snake Eyes even with the plus whatever to cast, and it doesn't matter. But
yeah, I mean,
I think there's just more like the range of their spellcasting because they used to, they still have Comet's Call, of course, but the Celestial Deliverance is nowhere near what it used to be, and the Balewind Vortex is gone. They lost a lot.
I think they did. I think they lost a lot, but they gained a lot too. I think Source as a playstyle is going to be more prevalent than it ever was. I think Source is still good.
Possibly, but the coherency rules really messed up with that. Which I mean, drops don't matter to them much anymore because like they are already, like if anything, they can make it less drops, and they do have monsters. I mean, I can't deny that. Like their monster mash is probably still really good. Especially Carnosaurs.
Wait. Ryan said something about the chat. That you had to deal with the King of Lumineth more times than healthy. How many times have you played James? I didn't think you played James.
I fought James Lumineth 3 times.
Oh, 3 times. So you have played against the King of Lumineth.
I'm thinking about paying my Lumineth so I can be the King of Lumineth. What do you guys think?
James beat me twice, and I've beaten him once.
Okay, well, I guess you have played the King of Lumineth enough to know.
Yeah,
you played that other guy that plays Lumineth all the time, though.
The warm up.
I didn't get hurt the Saurus builds didn't get hurt too bad because you can just play Spears now. Like you can stay in coherency and still get your
Yeah.
2-inch
Mhm.
range. They'll be okay. Like
I
Saurus will be fine, I think.
I think the monster lists are gonna be pretty cool because now you're not worried about the model count issue.
Scarvet, man, I'm telling you, I'm screaming it now. I think we're going to see some Scarvets on Carnosaur.
One thing that did get hit is that, and I don't know if y'all talked about this while I was gone, but the Thunder Lizard builds with the Bastillodon spams.
Yeah, we didn't
like,
talk about it. Yeah,
you can't use that shoot twice more than once,
Mhm.
so you won't see that.
I think
you
it-
won't see, like more than one or two. Like
Yeah.
I think.
I think Caleb was waiting all night for us to talk about Seraphon.
is Taylor here right now?
Yeah, just Seraphon is mentioned, and he just
Stegageddon,
shows up out of nowhere.
Oh, I see.
Stegageddon.
But yeah, no, I
Yeah.
definitely think that Stegodon, like Stegodons are stronger more now than ever, which is kind of
What?
hilarious how.
But what do you think about Stegodons versus the Engine of the Gods? I think the Engine of the Gods is
Well,
probably
as far as
the
your
better
battle
one.
line and stuff, I mean, you still have to run the things, but
I don't think you stress about. I don't know. Maybe
well,
I'm
the
wrong.
Bastillodon too also lost its unrend. Yeah, as Zach said, the unrendable thing went away.
And the Stegodons they also double up on mortals because they already do it innately on the charge, so they'll get a stomp also. I mean, they'll be sneaky good.
I think Scarvet on Carnosaur didn't even change price, and it's like stupid cheap now.
Dude, I'm telling you. I'm gonna build a list. I got six Carnosaurs behind me. I'm gonna play Scarvets on Carnosaurs, and I'm gonna tear some people up with it.
The Dread
The Saurus-
Saurian with the totem keyword. Yeah.
The Saurus did get hurt a little bit because
Why don't you talk
the
about that,
sta-
Caleb?
there was a stack for Saurus in the combat phase where you stacked a few things
Mhm.
together to get more damage, so you can't do that anymore. But they still have the mortal wounds. Like they can still put mortal wounds on anything in the book. They still have lots of really cheap options. They have strong magic. They have a teleport if you want it. Like
Yeah.
I mean, they're still in a really good place. Like I don't
You
think you put
still
the army
have-
outside of powerful or good. Like it's somewhere in there, right? It's in
Yeah.
there. Like I've seen people talk about Seraphon like it's an underdog army now, and that's not.
No way.
That's just not. Like
I mean, the Slan.
I mean-
is still, the Slan is relatively untouched. Like even
Maybe-
if you don't like what happened to Croak, you still have
I
viable
don't
options
know.
in the Slan.
I think realistically, Brian may not be able to place Seraphon anymore. Certainly not Croak, because if he takes 3 wounds, he's just gonna roll 3 6s and kill himself. So
Yeah, I'm not even gonna mess with Croak. I'm playing dinosaurs. I'm gonna play it for the reason that everyone else says they play it. Big dinosaurs, while they got 9,000 skinks on the
Oof.
board and a frog. You know, the guys that say they like big dinosaurs, but they have 9,000 skinks and a frog. Like, I don't see a dinosaur
Okay.
on any of their lists.
Caleb said he's looking at 3 Carnosaurs and 5 Stegodon list.
yeah, he beat you, or he beat you to this. He's been playing Stegodon. He got the receipts, dude.
I don't want no Stegodons. He can do that. I'm gonna play Scarvets, Carnosaurs.
You have to run battle line.
They need a Carnosaur
Battle line, yeah, like a
That's what they
feral
need.
Carnosaur. We got it.
Yeah,
Done.
Bro.
with a Howdah on that thing. That'd be cool.
Mhm.
Dread
I'm gonna
Saurian,
run Ter-
Dread Saurian battle line. Give it to me.
Pterodon's battle line? I can't remember. Can you make Pterodon's
no.
battle line?
No.
No, I would just run all of them.
Mm, I
Lame.
think that they are probably below cities, right? Right in that range, cities and disciples, like in there, right? Somewhere. On what side of cities are they on?
I want to
ahead of
say
cities.
better because the magic's
Yeah.
still really good, really reliable. The
Mm,
they have so much CP. That's really what like their CP is practically unlimited because they get the current rules and then they
Right.
generate like 15. And so they're normally you weren't stacking multiple things anyways, I don't think on one specific unit. You were running literally everything and then you can stack it on all of it and just have it go in. You're not worried about bravery for the most part. You're not worried about any of that, so you can just do it all on all out attack, all out defense. you got your spell casting. They have a little bit of everything, even including shooting. I think that's like you said, you can't run the old list expecting from 2.0 that made everything competitive. I don't think you can run that effectively and get good results.
Yeah.
Like you can spam
There's
monsters and
just
stuff, but
so much in the book, like from the top down. Like
yeah, they
it
can't.
lost these things, sure, but like it had so many things that it could afford to lose what it lost.
Yeah,
Like it's such there's so much in the book even now, like that it's in a better place than what people think. People just look at what it lost and they're like, okay, it's here now, but it's still a great book.
I think it's still really competitively priced too.
I think what happened is the book opened up a little bit. I think
Yeah, they
like
brought the stuff that was at the higher end closer to what the bottom end of the book was.
Yeah.
I think.
yeah, and you don't feel obligated to play things of SOTEC anymore. You
Or if
just
you're
take
running, yeah, you're not wanting, you don't care to run the battalions that just completely killed your list. Like, oh, I got to run Croxagores or some stupid unit that I don't want to run that completely messes with the list, and I don't have to run Croconado because it's the only thing that makes sense. Saurusguard are still gonna be good. You're still gonna see the Slan. You're still gonna see that same kit. You're just gonna see more utility of them than just pure damage.
Yeah, and I think you'll be able to mix units more than you used to be able to, where you couldn't see a Crognado list with Carnosaurs.
I don't think,
They
yeah,
just didn't fit together.
yeah. Looking at Caleb's comment, I was like, actually, I think you can really just run any list in Seraphon, and it's a decent list. Like all of them are going to be fairly stagnant as far
Well,
as
it always was. I think that what's happened is you kind of just brought them closer together. Like there's not a big gap inside the book where it was like Fangs of Sotek
yeah,
and Skink Spam was the go-to, or Thunder Lizards, was the go-to for some people. I think a lot of it just kind of they took the book and where there was a wide
trimmed
gap
the
inside
fat.
the book
Yeah,
and just the internal balance in the book, they brought it closer together. And I think you
I
can play a lot more
I
of
think
what you
they're
used to not
better
play.
than cities because the synergy is better in
Yeah,
Seraphon.
better cities,
I just don't.
and
I think they're
I
on par
I
with
think they
Zinch.
can. I think they can beat Zinch.
I think they beat Zinch too.
The
They just can't.
casting
They can't
battle's weird.
damage check the. I think
The
that they
pinks.
probably get the push a lot of the time
Oh,
against
most
Zinch
certainly.
because
Mhm.
board wide. I don't know if they can kill the Gargants. I think that that's what they'll have trouble with, but they control the magic effect and Magakin really well. So they're
True.
like, I don't know,
More
they're in there
utility.
somewhere, right? They
Yeah,
definitely get pounded by KO. KO is like a naturally good
enemy.
counter to Seraphon, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of where even before when Seraphon was better,
Yeah,
and I
I
think that
guess
it's
I would say better than Zinch because the shooting is better in Seraphon,
uh,
and the magic is on par.
mm,
Um,
And
very
it,
even
similar to
more
Zinch.
so,
yeah,
they can shut.
They have the
They can,
summoning. I think what the separator between them and Zinch, now that I think about it, is they didn't lose their teleport.
yeah,
Like they're very similar to Zinch, except they kept their teleport. So I think that
and
they're
they can control Zinch's magic without allowing Zinch to control theirs
right, but
true.
very
with
similar
the board wide.
summoning, very similar magic, very similar shooting.
They're very,
The
very similar.
horrors, the horrors don't. The horrors don't provide more value than a teleport. I think
I think they go below Suns because I think they just can't reliably.
damage check
Mhm.
suns. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. So I think they control Magickin and Fex magic more often than not, and they can definitely get a Terrorgeist off the board. And it depends on your Magickin build, but they're gonna struggle to kill
Yeah.
the big boys a lot of the
Because
time.
the damage, yeah, I guess JTJ did say that the damage reduction can kind of hurt a little bit, but I don't think so. I think that I don't think
I don't know
against
if
the
you're
Suns.
playing Coalesced. Like
Yeah,
I don't
if you're
know if
doing the
you're playing
monsters, that's
Coalesced.
cool, but then
I still like
Suns
the
still
Copian's
spank you.
Tail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The Copian Tail still allows you to hide half your army off the board, right? Like, and bring it in wherever you want. I think that's the play.
well, and
Probably.
especially you're gonna be playing a lot more sneaky, I think, because like even the whatever those things are called, the chameleon skinks. I think I think they're kind of funny now.
You can only reinforce them once.
Right,
So
they don't get the
you
plus
can only get 10
three.
mans.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
like they're okay, but they're not super great. But yeah, I think that's where they are, right
Yeah.
under Suns.
And then
And like Suns has the benefit on here of being the easiest to play army in the game, and that's gonna like artificially like
boost them
push
up
this
Bump them
in
up a
army
skill.
little
up
bit. Yeah.
because it's just gonna have such a high floor, like that you're gonna see a lot of people have success with
And you
Suns
have to.
because it
There's a
doesn't require a lot of like deep thought to make that army work.
there's a natural barrier to entry because those Seraphon models, like 80% of them are pure garbage, and you have to be like willing to accept that to want to build them.
Yeah, you gotta love them. I mean, I got like 5,000 points of them sitting behind me in the box because I don't want to touch them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, and the more I think about how this is like the list is forming, I think that Suns are just going to act like Imperial Knights
The
did
wall.
in 8th edition 40k, where they were the gatekeeper army. They were like the most popular army in the game because it's easy to collect, it looks awesome, and it's easy to paint and get that army on the board, and it's easy to play, and you're just going to see a lot of Suns, and you're going to see a lot of Suns played like all the same way, like all the same army structure. Like it's just going to be that gatekeeper army, and depending on how many people go to Suns, there's going to be like a couple that get into those top tables just because there's so many of those Sons of Behemoth lists floating around. Like
Yeah.
their
floor and their
naturally
ceiling
one of
are
them is going to
closer
get
together.
good matchups. One of them's going to get good matchups and get into the top tables on day 2.
Yeah,
Alright.
and you look at the floor and the ceiling between these other armies, and that the floor and their ceiling are much closer together than a lot of these armies
So-
we have in Powerful.
What do we think about Stormcast?
They're getting a new book. Throw them in trash
Yeah.
for now.
Okay.
Right. That's what I agree.
And
You
Sylvaneth?
can't rate them. Sylvaneth.
Last
That's
one.
the weird one, right?
I like them.
Yeah.
I like them.
Inside of the book, they're weird.
If their
because
freaking
their
tree
trees
rules
are-
would
their
be
trees
fixed.
are weird. They're still like kind of obtuse to play. They have really good monster options, actually. Like really good monster options. They have Drycha and Tree Lords and
Urthu.
Alariel.
Yeah.
Like some of the best monster options in the game, I think. So like they've got that going for them.
I think
Their trees are just keep getting screwed with. Right?
yeah,
Like every time you think they've fixed them, they like revert something or change
that
something.
had to be an accident, right? Like there's
weird
no way.
again.
Yeah,
I think
I'm almost certain it was an
I
accident.
think they just messed up. They were copy and pasting so much shit that they messed that up. Like we already learned from the doc thing that they can't be trusted to copy and paste one war scroll to the
But
next
they
book and
did.
do it right.
They lost so they're Kurnoth hunters too. Like the melee ones, they don't reroll saves anymore, which was kind of like a big staple to what they did. Is they rerolled saves. Your tree lords did their stomps. You know, like there was a good play with all that made it work. I mean, I think this is another army where Alariel is so good she actively bumps the army up one stage.
Well, a lot of people don't believe you. They don't agree with you. They think Alariel's overcosted and doesn't get her points value.
I think she's pretty good. I you know, like I understand the problem with the spell casting and stuff, but she's like a jack of all trades, you know, and her army can compensate for her.
Outstanding.
I would say without Alariel, she'd be like top of underdog. That's how I would put her and put them, and then
She's into the low good, right?
yeah, that's I yeah. Ryan was. I think Ryan
And
said the same thing.
Looking at this,
Yeah.
I think that Blades might be lower now. I think they might be top of underdog. Looking at
Yeah, probably.
how the list is formed, and then I think Beast Claw's still good.
I think
I mean,
Beast Claw is
let's
still
not even
it's
kid
same as
ourselves
Suns,
with
right?
Blades.
It's like a lower gatekeeping faction where it's just so easy to run.
Yeah,
But
That-
let's not kid ourselves. Blades was always kind of it. I mean, now that we're moving it down, like it's even at its prime, it was at like a 43% win rate at tournaments.
A lot of people run corn. A lot of people don't
A
run
lot of
corn
people
correctly.
do. So there is a big spread there.
Yeah.
But
they're better than
I mean-
Nighthawk. I think for sure. Right?
yeah,
So where are you
I
guys
think
thinking?
they specifically into Nighthawk. They chop up Nighthawk. Yeah.
Well, it specifically into the thing is that their whole thing was to be like, oh, I stop magic, I stop,
I think that
whatever.
yeah, they chop up Nighthawk specifically because they just have weight of
Yeah,
attacks.
sure.
But
But the weight of attacks and lower model count really hurt them.
well, I think Seraphon is still going to be in good, right there behind
Sylvaneth,
Sylvaneth.
you mean?
Sylvaneth. That's what I meant.
I think they're
Yeah,
better behind Skaven.
They're
Okay.
worse.
Behind
they're
Skaven.
they're not as good as Skaven. Yeah.
I think if
they'll
they
still be- you can't
fix
say
the trees
take
and stuff.
L'Oreal out of it and then
Trash.
measure it. I mean,
I was just putting it there for a second.
Yeah. It's weird. It's hard. The elf armies are the hardest ones to rate because
They're
are the ones
all
that have the most.
well, and
like,
isn't that
such a low floor. High
it's such
ceiling.
funny.
Right.
Yeah, it's really funny that they're kind of all in that same general tier. They always have been. I feel like Lumineth are just the one that like just completely in its own category.
Yeah, it's just got so many of those type of tools. Like all the elf armies are built on those type of tools, like those really unique, those type of rules that operate outside the game,
Messing
like
with your
gravity, not
opponent.
being able to die, and
It's
like
just Lumineth is
the
more
extra
consistent.
like hero phase like actions that Doc has, and then Deepkin has the ability to manipulate shooting very well, and board
And
edge
high
deep
tide.
strike and hiding armies off the board and high tide and Sylvaneth has the trees. Like they're all built on these mechanics that are very unique, and like they're mechanics I actually enjoy a lot being in the game, but it makes them really hard to balance because it just takes a little bit of tweaking to make them like to put them in a place where a good player or an informed player can really really abuse the rule, and it's really hard to balance it. And if you just make everything overcosted, you'll price the army out of the game because you'll see like what an informed player will do with the army, and they're like, that's too strong. And if you're going to price it to where how that person is playing the army, you're just going to price the army out of the game for everybody except that.
Really, realistically, I think it's just Techless right now. Like that's just me. Like I think that Techless did not get enough of a point increase, and even when I'm talking with people about Lumineth, when I'm talking with Ryan and talking with Zach and others, I'm like, I think you can make him 900 points, and you'd still run him. You would still run him just like Archaon, where he is like, yeah, you can do lists around it, and it's still really strong, and maybe you'll consider not running him. But I think that Techless is just really,
caveat
really
that
good.
They need more monster options inside of this rule set.
Yeah,
if you're gonna price him like that, they need alternatives that aren't mountain spirits. Like I think that you could really make the wind spirits monsters. I think, and like
and just take away their movement in the enemy shooting phase. I'll be fine with that.
Come on, it's cool.
No, it's bullshit.
Like,
is what it is.
Okay.
Not if it's a monster, it ain't cool.
Oh, wah. Like, come on. What do they do? Like 6 wounds a turn damage? Like
It ain't about damage. It ain't about damage.
I know, but you're paying like almost 400 points.
Oh no, Justin. I'm not saying that Techless should. Well, no, I do think Techless should cost at least the same points as Archaon. They're really good.
No, I think the Techless does a lot of things better than Archaon.
Yeah, I was like, Archaon does one thing really well.
Model comparison, yeah.
Make them both 900 points.
More specialized, like that would actually be a pretty good place for both. I think if you make both of them like around 900 points, 880 or 900 for both, I think is where they both need to be around that points block.
Yeah, because we'd still play him. I'd still play him.
Right.
Like,
you just lose. I think you need 10 less Marauders. Like, and I think that Lumineth needs 1 less unit of archers.
10 less, Sentinels.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and that's I mean that's the thing. You're losing. I understand the wound count, especially with Lumineth, is like 70 to 80, but I guess especially with Techless, I mean, on average, if he hits like 7 units, which he can now hit everything with Searing Light, you're doing like 15 to 20 mortals with one spell.
His problem.
Points increases.
he gives you access to the strongest part of the book, which are the spell lores.
Yeah.
He gives you access to all of them, and he gives you consistency throughout the entire
And
selection of it.
he guarantees whatever enemy
Right.
spell that you rely on getting off just doesn't happen.
There's too much consistency, and there's too much access.
Almost
to
guarantees, really.
the powerful parts of your book for him to be costed where he is.
Like that's an underrated thing that doesn't even get mentioned often. Is that he just tells you no on whatever spell he wants to every turn, and he has unlimited denies. Like those are things that most people don't even pay attention to on the War Scroll because he's got so much other shit.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and he's great in combat too. Like he's not like he's
Yeah.
no pushover when it comes to his shooting or combat. He can't box with
But they
Archaon.
need viable monster options if you're going to make this mission.
Sure.
Monsters like this.
But I mean,
Like, 'cause slaves have those. Slaves have viable monster options. They have Bellacore, and they have the Manicore. They have I think the Mind Stealer's Phoenix is a monster.
That the whatever that Ogroid thing is.
Like they have
The
coalition
Thaumaturge,
rules. Like they have options. Like this is the problem with how they structured the Lumineth book is, especially for this edition specifically, is that if you're gonna make me play around a monster, like and you
Don't
make
point my
Typhus what he
monster out of the
is,
game.
like, well, give me more.
right.
Like, don't just give me the.
Well, it's a similar
the
issue.
mountain spirit.
It's a similar issue with Doc. You know, you have a
Same
pretty decent
exact
setup, but
issue.
you're almost forced to run
Yeah.
Marathi, and then it's on a worse note, Nighthaunt with not having any monster. I could see, yeah, it would hurt not having any monsters because then it's just you're behind the entire game. You know.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's just they need monster options, especially if you're gonna make your battle pack this. But I mean, it's never a perfect game, right? It never has been, never will be.
No, I mean,
There's
and
always something to the top.
I know Lumineth is getting more shit. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no way they're not getting more stuff coming out.
Yeah.
They already have been rumoring it and talking about Tyrion and stuff, so you're gonna get more shit for sure. They already have more models than some armies that have been around for years. So, but yeah, okay, cool. Well, I think that's it. Was there any do you like the list and how it is? Would you swap anything around now that you see it?
Blades and Underdog, right?
Yep, I moved them.
Yep, we already moved that one down there.
Yep.
Yeah. They're punching up against it.
Currently, we only have Soulblight and Godbeast.
Yeah, and the reasoning on that is that
Let's
the way
specifically
that
tied to points.
they're costed is that they have the problem that Seraphon and Skaven had before it. They're that army now, where you just get more. You get like 400 or 500 points more than everyone else gets because of the way they're costed, and you have the summoning mechanics.
Yeah.
So, like they go toe to toe as far as their force multipliers with all of these lists. They just get more shit. So you get a better ability to trade on top of having rules that compete with these armies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I think they're in that S tier. I mean,
and then
time will tell.
Kragnos, when he comes out in War Clans, will just put him way up there in Godbeast. How about that? Top of everything.
Wild card is those two books, the Stormcast and.
I think Stormcast are gonna be nasty. Like unless something happens to them, I think they're gonna be really up there. I don't know how if they'll be
Depends on their monster options. I'm sure the Star Drake will be pretty good. I don't know what else they're gonna have.
I think they're gonna get a small Drake model, like a monster type, smaller unit or whatever. Just good save and stuff like that. I think that's probably gonna happen, and then I think
a lot of 3+, a lot of ways to buffer their 3+. It's a tanky army. If they're costed in a way that is similar to how they're costed now, you're not gonna have a big army, which will that'll create problems.
I think the War Clans is gonna be pretty nasty. Unless they just make it.
War Clans is gonna be better than Stormcast.
Yeah, I think they're going to be the winner. Well, even based on their models. I mean, you see how many monsters are coming out with. just for that faction, and then if Kragnos gets the if they're dumb enough to actually give that guy all the keywords, like I mean, it's gonna be
That book will
stupid.
go straight into powerful or God.
Yeah, I think it'll be God Beast because even an idiot could run that thing. Like you just
Yeah.
you run more clans and you just
Stack the buffs.
yeah, or
If
big
the book
wall
is structured in a way that's similar to where like they'll have like a
where it
big
is
wall,
now. Yeah, it's
and
just
they
gonna be
give him
like
all the keywords. Like if that is how it shakes out, like he's gonna be a problem
Yeah.
for a lot of
and
armies.
it's even if they don't get rid of the rogue idol. I mean, that dude's gonna be stupid by himself. Like he's already pretty dumb. Like it's crazy. And well, but even still, like even just the Iron Jaws are already really good. I like them. The um whatever the hell the big things are, Maw Crushers, they're still really good. Yeah, I think they got better in 3.0 to be honest. Bone Splitters kind of struggle a little bit, but I think the Cruel Boys are going to be really good. Those monster models look like they're going to be really nasty, and they're going to have a lot of Lumineth-esque features. I mean, most of their War Scrolls now look like just knockoff Lumineth. Or Lumineth Light, I should say.
More wounds, yeah.
Mortal wounds. They're doing the minuses to hit. They basically prevent battle shock from happening in a sense. Just a lot of interesting kind of things that you wouldn't expect from orcs, and I think
I
that
love how every time somebody gets a top tier book, they call it interesting. It seems to be the word.
hey, I haven't got my book yet, man. It could be shit.
Interesting how strong my shit is.
I wouldn't know. I've never had.
I don't know. It's gonna be fun. We'll figure it out. You know, wherever the meta lands, it lands.
I don't think you'll shake it up too much.
Bets.
I'm actually like pretty satisfied with the list. I think it's solid.
Well, and I think
Bottom, yeah.
what you guys, based on what you guys were talking about, remember before we had like a really clear, like, like this. Yeah, it was kind of like this weird sandwich type, or not. I'm sorry, not sandwich, but like, a lot in the middle.
Outliers, right? You
right.
The KO, Lumineth, Seraphon.
But now it's a lot more. Even Soulblight, it's a lot more packed. Like most of these, I don't think other than Slaanesh into Soulblight. Like other than that, like most of these armies, I feel pretty confident that it's like not a dead giveaway in the matchup. Like, oh, this guy's gonna insta lose against this army. Like if I brought Night Haunt against, I don't know, Sons of Behemoth, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm done. Like this game's over before it begins. Like there's a good chance that I can actually come back from that. So I think it's a lot more. I think they did a good job on that. I will say that. I feel pretty confident that the balance is a lot better than it used to be.
Yeah.
Because of the universal stuff.
Yeah.
And the battalions and that shit. So, but yeah, I think. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? Been kind of going on for a while now.
Closing thoughts here. We're over 2 hours.
Almost 3.
I think we're good.
Out of here, yeah. Well, cool. Thanks for everyone who sat all the way through this nonsense.
Crazy people. Kevin.
I'm sure we'll do it again in like 6 months when all this is proven wrong, and maybe even quicker than that. But this is like just a general like thoughts based on absolutely no game data. So take it with a grain of salt.
We'll see more after the crazy
after LSO.
tournament.
We're going to LSO. We'll get it figured out. We'll probably do a live stream. If you're going there, look forward to seeing you there. If you're not, I mean, we'll probably do one Friday night.
We might just do one with all the boys, dude. That'll be wild. Because all the boys are gonna be
all
there.
the gorillas.
Fill up a hall and like scream into a microphone.
Oh God.
That'd be fun, huh?
Oh
and
man.
we'll put Matt in like another hotel.
The corner.
So loud. Yeah, he'll still be the loudest one. Yeah, cool.
All right.
Yeah, dude.
All right,
Get
guys.
ready for that. Everything ready. Make sure.
Good luck at the tournament tomorrow. Whoever's going.
Yeah, good luck, guys. Sorry, I don't think any of the 3 of us are going to make it tomorrow.
Nope.
Yeah.
First time I think in forever. So.
All
right.
They need one more chance to win before we go back and start clapping them cheeks.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you guys later.